Happy Sunday, SMITE fans, and welcome to the final day of Week 1 of the SMITE Summers Masters event. We've sent 4 teams to promote to week number 2. We've eliminated 4 teams, and that took 2 days for us to do. Now we're going to do all of that in just one today, where our final 4 teams for week 2 will be decided. Before we get to that, we want to give a shout out to our good friends over at Prime Gaming, the title sponsor of Season 9 of the SPL. If you don't already have a Prime membership, you should go ahead and get one because you get free shipping, music, movies, and more. Link that over to your Twitch account and you get a free Twitch subscription, free content and games you're already playing, and you get free games every single month on a rotating catalog, so make sure that you are making the most out of that Prime membership. And Prime Gaming, thank you one more time to Prime for being the sponsor in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. If you liked all that free stuff, don't worry, you get a lot more free because you get to watch some free SMITE games all day long. I'm J-Mac, I got Mifflin with me to join me on the desk for our very first set of the day. We're going to have the Valkyries and the Hounds in a rematch showdown to see which of those teams is going to be going on, but we're going to have 4 of those sets today. This will cap out our 20 sets for just our first week of games, Mifflin.
And just to reiterate, you're telling me every single one of these sets, someone's progressing to the next phase.
And someone's getting eliminated.
Yeah, that's
same
the part,
time.
That's the part that I wanted to.
That's
it.
That's the cap off of the elimination sandwich.
We're sending people home.
We had the elimination on day number 1, our first little slice of bread. We had the promotion, the meat of the sandwich. Now and then today we're gonna have not just the cheese and whatever topping, whatever other toppings you put on your sandwich, whether it's mustard, mayonnaise. I don't know whatever else you put on the sandwich besides the meat and bread. And then our other eliminations with the bread on the very top there. So 4 sets today. All 4 sets actually going to be a rematch from what we got to saw earlier on in the week. Just the way things panned out. We'll take a look at the schedule to see what order it'll be. Same order that we had seen it before. Eldritch Hounds and Valhalla Valkyries, our first set of the day. Hex Mambos, Solar Scarabs, Highland Ravens, Oni Warriors, and the Kallen Wardens and the Atlantis Leviathans to cap out our day of play. And some close matchups that we had kind of during the week. We know that during the Oni Warriors match and the Highland Ravens, a couple of close matchups there. Eldritch Hounds and Valhalla Valkyries, probably one of the closest matchups just because of nature of seeding, the number 1 SCC team from NA, the number 8 team from SPL. But when these teams were facing off all throughout there between the Hounds and the Valkyries, wasn't exactly a close, but it also was not kind of a blowout game that some teams might have expected.
Yeah, I would say it took a little while for the Valhalla Valkyries previously in this set to establish dominance, but once they got hold of it, never really let go. And that seemed to be a similar thread between the majority of some of these top-seeded SEC teams versus some of the bottom-seeded SPL teams. For example, I think the Hex Mambo versus Solar Scarabs match, which is coming up next, probably one you want to keep your eyes on.
For sure, Hex Mambo want to get their revenge. Every one of these SEC teams wants to get their second chance at making it into the final week of play. Looking just at our bracket, you can see that the Valkyries found their 2-0 earlier in the week against the Hounds, then lost to the Camelot Kings 2-0, and now we have the Valkyries here because the Eldritch Hounds got knocked out by the Kings, or the Gilded Gladiators got knocked down, and then get knocked out by the Eldritch Hounds. That's now where we leave the Hounds out to be our final match in Group A of this bracket. It's going to be very similar like this throughout all of today. All of these matches, as we said, one team promotes on, the winner of the set. The other one is eliminated because everything is going to be going in and getting ready for week number 2. And the Valkyries have been a team that have really been improving as of late all across the board. It's not just one player in particular that's been standing up and really rising above everything else. This whole team has really been jumping up there. But I do want to highlight Aquarius because it feels like he's finally been able to kind of diversify that God pool a little bit, and it really has been working out well for his team.
Yeah, when you say diversify, you mean he added Chang'e, right?
True, he added Chang'e, but hey, that Chang'e has been working.
It has. A whole lot of survivability for Aqua over in the short lane, but I think you are right to say that this entire team has stepped up a good deal. If it weren't a land loop, if we didn't get to see them every single day during the regular phase, I would have said this overnight explosion of the Valhalla Valkyries would have been due to, I don't know, like account sharing or somebody, their big brothers getting on the keyboard or something like that, because it really was just overnight. One day, the Valhalla Valkyries look like they've got literally nothing going on, can't control the early, losing in farm, team fights not so great, and then the next time we see them, it's, wait, hold on. These guys are keeping up with the Camelot Kings in early game farm. Well, hold on. These guys are taking team fights in the late game against some of these top-seeded squads. Well, hold on. These objectives are starting to go their way as well. And just this rapid explosion, this inflection point as a team where they've just become so much better, makes me excited to see what they're capable of in the future. Generally, when we see teams make massive jumps, as the Valhalla Valkyries have, we'll see them plateau for a little while. All right, we just figured out our new style. It's starting to work. Let's try and iterate on it. And we're not going to see another rapid advancement probably for a couple weeks. Or if they're lucky, maybe the Valhalla Valkyries just come in feeling hot today.
Perhaps so. Aquarius, the man on your screen right there, has really been stepping up for his team in that solo lane, has really been able to make some very impactful rotations and impactful plays just in general. Early rotations, being able to get pressure in that solo lane, which is kind of where the Valkyries struggled a little bit in their consistency, where Aqua was never really winning out his lanes. He was kind of just stalemating for the longest time, but now he's finally hit that comfort point. Him and the rest of his team have finally been able to find winning lanes outside of just that mid 2v2, which is where their big success was kind of at the start of their start out there. But we had a chance to sit down, or we have a chance to right now go ahead and talk with the Valhalla Valkyries. We got Spooky standing by with the Valks in the booth.
That's right. I may not have had a warrior's death just yet, but I am here with the Valkyries, and they've got some answers for all of our questions. Speaking of Aquarius, I've got Aquarius right here next to me. Aqua, you've been having some trouble with the bot stopping your back here. How's that feeling?
Not good. I can't believe a bot would ever do something like that to me.
It is truly brutal. But now, here in this day, you've got a grudge match going up against the Hounds. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's been some rumbling saying that if an SCC team is gonna win here, it's gonna be the Hounds, and it's gonna be you guys that they beat. How do you feel about that?
I guess I could see it statistically, but I don't see us losing, so.
We are feeling very, very confident here today. I like that from Aquarius. Kyrmi, you've been coming up in the jungle. You've been having a great performance recently. What's going through your head going into this match right now?
Same thing as the first time we played them. We're just going to play our game and just going to beat them. It's going to be pretty simple.
Pretty simple. I like simple. I'm not a smart man, so that makes things a lot easier. Pagon. I'm going to call you Pagon.
All right, sounds good.
How are you feeling? Are we going to see any weird picks coming out from the mid lane?
Probably not. It's just good to have Scream in the jungle. You know, it's a nice change of pace. You know how it goes.
Excellent. You know, brothers and all. That's the narrative I've heard. That's the narrative I'm going with. How's this dual lane feeling? Fantastic?
Absolutely fantastic, yeah.
It's got to be more than that.
Super fantastic.
Super fantastic is good enough for me. Let's take it back to the desk. Will the Valkyries continue flying high, or will they fall like flatbread? Go ahead and break it down.
Well, thank you so much, Spooky, for talking with the Valkyries. Seems confidence across the board, at least. Well, Aquarius being stopped by a back on the bots. Don't worry, it happens to the best of us
Like
out there.
flatbread?
But fall like flatbread.
Does that fall?
I don't know. I mean, you can knock a piece of bread over that technically falls, I
think
guess.
they made like a whole game based off that once, right?
There's also like a video on YouTube that's like gone viral with it. It has like some dramatic music when it falls. It's one of my favorite ones to watch.
All right. Spooky's got some deep cut references
Really
I wasn't privy to, so
Apparently
don't
so.
fall like flatbread.
But the Valkyries feeling pretty good. Kyrmi saying we're going to go out there and play our own game. We're going to win. Now, for the Eldritch Hounds, they've got to be able to answer back. And over in their solo laner as well, we talked a little bit about Aquarius, but let's also talk about Remakami on that side. He's been able to make some pretty consistent moves for his team as well, making sure to really be that frontline for his team. Whenever we talk about teams and they have sometimes struggling solo laners, at least if Remakami is struggling, the rest of the team is able to bring themselves up. But when Remakami is hot in the solo lane, this is one of the hardest teams to ever fight back into because he really does feel like an unstoppable wall for his squad.
Yeah, glad the first clip of Remakami's on this King Arthur because I think that is by and large one of his best gods. Might just be because King Arthur is one of the best gods in the solo lane, but what he was bringing to the team fight on this pick was absolutely ridiculous. Plays like this, where you're locking down in your own tower, you think you're about to fall down, not going to be the case. Does it up against Mando Warrior, does the exact same thing repeatedly for about 20 entire minutes once he decides to rotate out as well. Remakami certainly one of the players in the league that loves to go for that early aggression, loves to play the bullies in lane. I would say similar in methodology to FineOK, if not in execution, but certainly has that potential. Love watching this squad play. I mean, the Eldritch Hounds as a whole are just a team that are full of big personalities and fun ones to hear from.
No, for sure. The entirety of the squad, I mean, they've been on the grind ever since their days of sleekness back in Season 8, kind of the Phase 3 is where we kind of saw the peak of that team at that time. They were the number 4 seed going into their SCC playoffs, ended up beating out the Winter Dogs, aka now the current Valkyries, and a lot of other teams out there have made a lot of step-ups and a lot of improvements across the board, not just in their solo lane, but even their duo lane. I mean, we talk about Dude Man Bro and Quig as a combination, and those two guys, when they're on, like when these guys are actually on fire, they feel like one of the most difficult duo lanes to really face amongst the SCC. It feels like you could throw a Dude Man Bro on just about any pick now. It's no longer just the Izanami or just the Rom or just this one pick. That Dude Man Bro as a player has been able to build up his god pool. He's been able to make pop-off plays consistently. Quig, doesn't matter what support you throw him on, he's going to make sure to step up for his team. That Umoja always seems to make its way over to his hands. We'll see if it does in game number 1, picks and bans between the Eldritch Hounds and the Valhalla Valkyries. But that first one going down is going to be Khepri.
And to speak to your point about Dude Man Bro, within his last 6 matches, no repeated gods. Cupid, Artemis, Chiron, Sol, Freya, Chernobog. That is a very diverse god pool, and some of these selections, ones that we're not super used to seeing recently. Sol in particular, one that has really fallen off, but it seems like when bans land Dude Man Bro's way, he's got something in the back pocket to lock out. But when you've got a player that is willing to absorb those bans, if you feel like you can't deal with this Cupid, if you feel like you can't play against this Chiron, and you decide to take it off the board, you leave openings for star players, guys who I think are really close to just stepping up to that SPL level, like Oathhh. You're going to allow him to play whatever he wants? I probably wouldn't. It seems like he can really dominate the battleground.
Yeah, Oathhh is definitely a player where, in the past, though, that's kind of where the struggle in the picks and bans came from the Eldritch Hounds, especially against this SPL talent, is SPL players looked at Oathhh and said, okay, you like playing A, B, and C. We're going to go ahead and ban away A, B, C. Oh, and you might just have D and E in your back pocket as well, so we'll ban those just as a safety measure. And then it kind of puts some pressure on the Eldritch Hounds to draft something impactful for Oathhh. That's why, at least for the bans, we do see a couple of shots over at Kyrmi and just a couple in general bans as well. Khepri, Osiris, and Daji. Valkyries are going to take away the Umoja, not wanting to give an opportunity for Quig to have that god and Eset to be banned as well. But the Eldritch Hounds and Oathhh specifically have been able to make some step-ups to where they can add a little bit more to the god pool. So when those first 3 kind of picks are taken away from Oathhh, he still has 3 to 4 more picks that he can kind of fall back onto as we see our final ban being that King Arthur, not going to give Remakami a power play in the solo lane.
Still plenty of priority picks available. Cupid was immediately coming to my mind. Fits the Eldritch Hounds playstyle very, very well. Dude Man Bro, one of the most aggressive hunter players in the SEC. Wants to play one of the highest kill potential ADCs by that same note. But in taking Cupid in the first slot, I think it does give over the fact that the Hounds aren't a team that is likely to go towards a double hunter composition. Could allow the Valks to wait out on their own selection. And still plenty of value in the hunter column for them as well. Chernobog, one that has still remained near the top of those power standings. Instead, Xing locked in this high up in your draft. That's good AoE CC, has decent damage mitigation for the entirety of your team with that ferocious roar, removing auto attack damage from whoever you connect with. And the Valkyrie's very smart here. Take that Nemesis away from Oathhh. That's been one of Oathh's highest performing picks and one that he's gone to, I believe, 3 times in his last 6.
And with that now, the Eldritch Hounds have to make their decision. Do they get something for Oathhh now and or potentially risk a couple of more bans sliding his way after this phase? The Cupid is something that, when I think of Dude Man Bro, and I'm thinking back to the end of Season 8 in their SCC time, this is one of those gods that Cupid wasn't meta. Nobody was playing Cupid at that time.
Except for Wowy.
But Wowy and Dude Man Bro were playing it, and they were both big pop-off gods for them during that SCC during that SCC LAN back at the end of Phase 3. So seeing him go back towards this one, and seeing this Hera locked in, or not locked in, but hovered in at the moment, it's something we've seen a couple of times in the SPL. Paul, Big Man Tings, Dardes, kind of the 3 players that come to mind when this one gets locked in, but we don't see very many SEC teams sliding towards this god, Mifflin.
Yeah, and you know, I had talked to Crimson before this match, and I said, hey man, you gonna win? He said, and he looks me right in my eyes. He stops walking. He sets down his drink, and he says, it's not up to me. If the game goes 40 minutes, it might be up to me. Otherwise, I'm really relying on the boys. Go to a pick like Hera, and I'm starting to understand why you got a thought like that. You're not a playmaker on a god like Hera. You really are. Play back, self-peel, health shield, Argus for self-defense. Maybe you're setting up for a jungler rotation with that polymorph. So glad to see Krim, one of the most bombastic players in the North American SEC, wait on his pick and potentially get something he's a bit more aggressive on. Because when I think of Krim, I think of the Thoth. I immediately go towards that Thoth, that massive poke potential, the ability to look for those insane early 1v1 kills. Not many gods in mid have got as much 1v1 potential as Thoth, which is why I think we see him go towards it so often. Maybe a sign of respect from Crimson that he isn't picking it as high in his own personal priority order during this event. Generally in the SEC, I suppose he thinks he can go for these high-octane plays a little bit more consistently, but more respect to these more tenured SPL players. Instead, Khepri and Bellona, the lock-ins. Very strong duo lane already for the Hounds, and seems like when King Arthur isn't available, Bellona's been generally the fallback for every team so far this event. Has good space control, really can disrupt that back line, and well, it's going to dissuade what you can assume a Hunter pickup from the Valks. Regardless, you can stop those auto attacks with a disarm. And then Nemesis as well. I think this pick is going to fit this draft very, very well.
And then as we jump into the second wave of bans, first one's going to be targeted at least over into the jungle from the Valhalla Valkyries, taking Raven away from Oathhh. And then Discordia on the opposite side. A shot over at BennyQ. Discordia has just been a comfort pick for a lot of these mid laners as of recent, being able to get the passive over to your solo laners, allow them to just kind of free farm and free carry throughout the early game. Chulainn, a great god to be able to do something like that. And then the Morrigan going to eat a ban from the Valkyries. Interesting. Now with the Morrigan gone, Discordia taken away, ESET, and I'm going to throw Cabrakan out there because it is BennyQ. He was one of the first ones to bring the Cabrakan to mid back in Season 8. I'm wondering where the Valkyries mid laner is going to go for his selection. Muzen Cobb and Ullr are both still available if you do want to go maybe towards a mid hunter. That is something, at least that Crimson has been playing a few times this event.
Yeah, no,
that
was pretty clear, right?
But it will be Merlin, at least for the Valkyries mid laner.
Yeah, any time that Benny's back's against the wall and a ton of bans have been tossed his way, it seems like Merlin not quite good enough to get the respect of a ban column pick, but certainly still good enough to be selected. And for my money, still the best mage in the game at base defense. So worst case scenario, you're trying to keep your Titan alive, you got a Merlin. Best case scenario, you're getting aggressive. Merlin's also got some of the best objective burn in the game. Go to a Gold Fury, go to a Pyromancer, so still certainly has some value there. On the other end, though, wasn't expecting this from the Eldritch Hounds. Oathhh does love his hyper carry, set locked in, but I'm not fully convinced just yet. I am now fully convinced that it is a set for the jungle with Baba Yaga locked in. And this seems to be a common thread from the SPL and the North American SEC. I'd asked them, hey, what do you guys think, having had the opportunity to play against some of these more European teams? What stands out to you? And every single person I've asked has said, man, Baba Yaga is like pretty good, actually. It's a whole lot of damage. She's got great self-peel. I think this god's pretty slept on. And it seems like the Eldritch Hounds already are starting to adapt that into their own style.
I mean, we haven't seen a lot of success out of the Baba just yet. Only a few games that she has been able to find any kind of wins. But I think back to the performance that Angry had on it just earlier on into the week, where he was 3v1ing people at the very end. It was more like a 1v1 and then another 1v1, and then do that a third time. It was able to find some decent picks out there. And the Valkyries, with Artemis banned away, kind of being the only hunter that ate a ban, and then Cupid picked up by the Hounds, at least Heimdallr, who's been making his way a little bit more consistently across the board, where when we're going back a few weeks and talking about just the SCC in general, no one in North America is really picking up this god. No one in the SPL outside of like maybe Zapman is kind of picking up this god, but EU SEC was consistently grabbing him. Now we're seeing kind of more consistent across the board. Is it really just that safety factor that Heimdallr has that's kind of bringing him back and kind of keeping him at the forefront?
It's that safety, it's the chase down potential, it's the single target CC that can burn away some of those relics, but I think you are right in hitting the nail that it is generally the safety that the Heimdallr is locked in for. Looking at Wowy's previous matches, not a pick that he's gone towards recently. Generally, Artemis, the answer to the Cupid that he loves to go towards, but with it banned out. Otherwise, Chernabog has been pretty consistent for him. So what does the Heimdallr bring differently? It's not one of his flavor picks. It's not one that he goes towards super often. Looking into this matchup, you've got the ability to peel off Set. I think that's the direct answer. Set has to get point blank. So what do? Pull out your little horn, go knock him away. You got to slow as well. Standing in your Bifrost, you're out of there. I think it is just while he's saying, hey, I'm concerned that Oathhh is going to show up in my lane early, so I'm going to get something that can really withstand that onslaught.
And is that dual lane really kind of the best option for Oathhh to go? I mean, you look across the board and you've got Merlin, Chulainn, or Heimdallr as kind of your primary areas to go for a rotation. So is that probably the best lane that Oathhh can get some kind of a lead in over there?
I mean, generally Set has pretty decent matchup in anyone that is largely immobile and for the most part, mobility lacking from the Hunter column in general. I mean, best you can ask for, maybe like some globals, the Apollos, right? But you got to charge those up. Otherwise, dashes and leaps. Whereas you want to gank mid, junglers hate ganking mid. I'm going to keep it a complete buck with you. It is my least favorite thing to show up in a lane and then 3 other guys are there like, hey, don't touch my mage. It is the worst feeling. Otherwise, solo lane feels really, really hard to get involved in recently. You got the health chalice pickups. You've got these insane lane bullies that are back in the meta. It's no longer those late game to mid game scaling warriors. Instead, it's, hey, I'm locking King Arthur. I'm locking Chulainn. So I think that if I'm playing for the Eldritch Hounds, if I'm Oathhh, I'm looking at the duo lane as generally my only real option besides catching some fights in the jungle.
Well, it's a rematch between the Eldritch Hounds and the Valhalla Valkyries. Last time it went to the Valks, can the Eldritch Hounds find a game victory? We'll throw it over into game 1 with Dimes and Gore.
Thanks, gents. The Hounds, the Valks, hitting the battleground of the gods for the second time here at SMITE Summer Masters. Dimes, Gore joining me here, Doug spectating as per usual, and Gore. Couple things to break down here in this draft. The Devs did a great job, but the thing that really sticks out to me, highlighted by Myth, Oathhh on this hyper carry set. We've seen set mid, we've seen it in the jungle, we've seen it this week here at SMITE Summer Masters, but you put that on a character like Oathhh, who loves to put the team on his back. I mean, where's your mind going here?
Honestly, it's going to be interesting to see where he puts that pressure, because Myth had highlighted it as well with the Heimdallr. He's got a little bit of self-peel to keep that set off of him. Merlin with Flicker, Kyrmi with a double dash. Aquarius has a leap, Gamma has some leaps. So, you know, Oath's biggest thing here is going to be sticking to people. He does that pretty well most of the time. And so I think Set's going to have just an interesting matchup. And getting Set, it's been more subdued, I think, as of late than what we've usually gotten to see out of him. We haven't seen a ton of Set, period. But it still has that not only, like you said, hyper carry potential, can get online early if he wants, still, you know, might be a little while before we see Oathh truly finding some of those kills.
Sure.
But I expect to see him be very hands-on, very active throughout this game to try and figure out where he can put that pressure.
As for the rest of the Eldritch Hounds, Quig and Dude Man Bro love combining in this Khepri and Cupid duo lane. While we were going through picks and bans, I saw Khepri was online. Cupid, of course, prioritized as the first overall pick. Knew that was going to be a snap lock-in for Quig. On the flip side, though, Gamma picking up the Xing Chen. We've seen it played by Gamma over and over, so no surprise there. But once again, I really want to highlight this unique pick. Crimson grabbing this Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga, I'm pretty sure this is the first time the mid laner has been snagged by an NA team. EU has valued her very highly.
Europe's been loving her, right? And I think that, and this goes into the pace of the game, and I've had this, like, compliments, I guess, for Baba Yaga, which is that the pace of the game right now fits her pretty well. If you're going to be stacking items, then that's great for her. You're not really fighting too much early on in mid. You can just kind of hang out. And Baba Yaga loves that, because what is she best at? I mean, go back, look at all of her competitive history. It's late game damage. I mean, she just hits so hard. It's just remarkable to see, and I think, you know, that in conjunction with some CC from a Khepri or from a Bellona or even hell from Cupid, all of a sudden opens up an easy conversation for her to just get free damage out there in the middle of a team fight. Set up someone like Oathh for some easy kills.
I'm sure that 3v1 that Angry took that we saw versus, I believe, the Leviathans really put Baba Yaga on the radar for these NA teams when you can use that blast off so effectively as damage, as an escape, as Oathh being pressured here by Kyrmi in their own jungle, is able to pop that Sandstorm, put out the spike there, throwing out some damage onto Kyrmi, who still is not done with this 1v1. Level 3 is the set. Level 2 is Kyrmi. Slice and Dice used to slow down the set. Beats popped as well. There's the skewer. No potential quite yet from Kyrmi with only 2 abilities online.
Yeah, I almost forgot about 3 people running out of Baba Yaga. Like, I was...
One at a time,
that was
too.
Yeah, it was a great play. I was going to say, for the Baba Yaga, that's a fantastic play. For the other team, that was abysmal to watch.
That was negative IQ.
And so for Crimson here, you know, hey, maybe you'll find yourself in a circumstance like that. I want to say I doubt it. I really hope so. But you never know. 11 a.m. Valks can always hit a little different. But that does go to show, I think, you know, how deadly and devastating this pick can be.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that was what they had, like a poly. They had a lot later on that was just like, cool, we're just going to hit really hard. And then what are you going to do about it? Like, we're like, my Cauldron is going to do 900 damage to you with the right build. And so all of a sudden it opens up, I think, a very well, just a fun dynamic for a Baba Yaga. Because what else is she doing in the late game team fights? Not much. She is literally just a damage machine.
Right.
And you know, it's going to be fun, like watching the potions that they pick up, and you know, if they're trying to pocket that here for Crimson. You had mentioned it, I think, the other day, and we've talked about it a bit over this weekend, but like, not having like the complete control over your shapes. You know which the next one's going to be, and you know what CC it's going to be, but you don't get to pick any of that.
It's not
so
like
that's
Merlin where you can toggle through.
Yeah, and so it's something that is going to have to change. You know, it is going to be team fight dependent. Sometimes having that slow is going to be a lot more impactful. So does that slow down whether or not you want to throw out this damage? Most of the time, no. Yes, you're just going to throw it out and then have enough cooldown that you don't feel too bad about it. So I expect Crimson to maybe not for a while, but eventually get to the top of the damage charts.
So a repeat performance here between the Eldritch Hounds and the Valhalla Valkyries. In fact, repeat performances all day long, right? We have 4 sets of grudge matches coming our way. SCC versus SPL. If you are these teams, Gormizer, who's getting the benefit of this second round of play? Is it the more inexperienced team now that they have a round under their belts? I mean, what are the Valhalla Valkyries improving on after, I mean, kind of dominating the Hounds, right? It wasn't a 22-minute victory, but it was a convincing 30-minute win.
I mean, it's that weird balance where I think the best version of this bracket is really for all of the SEC teams today, because they got another set under their belt, right? So you had one LAN where admittedly, or one match where like everything didn't necessarily go the way you wanted it, but you get your nerves out. A second one where you get a good win under your belt, so you have some confidence, and you get to come in today having watched the SPL teams already played, having gotten to play your own sets, feel a little more revitalized, more energy, and maybe a little more knowledgeable about what's going to be good on LAN and how you're going to try and make it work. Whereas for the Valkyries, I mean, yesterday you got a warm-up set versus the Kings, and admittedly, while it didn't go their way, they look good doing it.
Oathhh showing their face on the left side of the map here. Gamma utilizing that Xing ultimate to CC immune the Cupid ultimate, so a trade out there. Cupid going to have that ultimate down for a little bit, so perhaps Wowy with an opportunity. Kyrmi utilizing that Nemesis ultimate on EruptCrimson, forcing out the home sweet home, so trades across the board here in both duo and mid lane.
It looked like Kyrmi wanted more, but getting the ult out of Crimson was enough. Like even BennyQ was like, ooh, do I come around? Do I try to get a slice of this pie? And then no. The answer was no. You turn the corner, you see this giant shack stumbling towards you, and you just count that one as a win. I like that they called it back off. I think both teams there, right? The Valkyries, you know, going ult for Gamma and Dude Man Bro just to make sure that no one gets pulled out, and then ult for ult as well, Kyrmi for Crimson. I think just kind of showcases like, okay, we're willing to fight or we're willing to retreat. Just depends on if we can pull the scenario. And that's the other thing, right, is knowing that where they are in this position for both of these teams, even though the Valks, I think, have done a fantastic job improving in the SPL, it's still an elimination set, right? You got to take everything about as seriously as you can. And a first blood like that, or any amount of control that you might give up, it can be a huge deal.
We've seen pressure placed on the map already from both Oathhh rotating to the duo lane, Kyrmi there putting pressure on the mid lane. Games this week have been slow, I want to say, as Quig rotates out of the duo lane over onto Aquarius' side of the map. Oathhh combining as well. Aquarius locked down by the Khepri there. The root off the mark by Quig. Aquarius with that brutal scream there. Hits Oathhh, but Oathhh affected by the Scarab's Blessing. Revived. Remakami doesn't find the final bludgeon shot onto Aquarius. And not the rotation that Quig was looking for.
No, but that was, I want to say, impressive from Aquarius more than anything, right? I mean, with the Scarab's Blessing, with a set diving you, Remakami might have been able to continue, but would have lost his life for it, right? At minimum, you're going 1-for-1 there, unless Oathhh gets that kill fast. And so I think that it's a really good job for Aquarius to be able to get that deep that quick.
Action across the map here. Mid lane sees pressure. Dude Man Bro sees pressure as well, having to blow that Cupid ultimate to dissuade Kyrmi from continuing the assault there. So Nemesis ult going to be down for a little bit. Dude Man Bro popping that Fields of Love as well. As I was saying before, activity exploded in every single lane of the map. Games have been a little slow. Not the case here. Do you think when one team is trying to slow it down, the other team trying to speed it up, press the gas pedal is to their advantage?
It depends really, I think, on the comp, right? Like, and if I'm looking at it, like, if I'm the Valkyries, probably want to start trying to get a little more, I want to say, impactful towards like the mid game, right? Give them a few more levels. I think like a couple of Cullen rotations, but you can start putting pressure pretty much a little bit after the Pyromancer spawns. I expect to see them maybe start trying to focus on the map a little bit more. But if I'm the Hounds, I love this pace, right? I mean, you're getting the farm up. You've got Cupid, who, yeah, he can do some things early on. Same thing for some of these other, but late game hyper carry for Set. Good damage out of Baba Yaga the later the game goes. So playing it patient, getting those stacks online, and not forcing a fight just because is a great call for them. And just hanging out, right? Just trying to make sure that nothing goes too out of hand. Because at this point, if you're down 4-0 and the Valks are invading your red buff on cooldown, things like that, it changes the game entirely. And then your comp just can't fight back. So instead, keep it relaxed. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Same thing for the Valks.
Oathhh active across the entirety of the map. Eagles rally onto Aquarius, who knocks up the jungler and the solo laner for the Eldritch Hounds. Nothing to come of it, though. Kingslayer popped as well. So 2 ultimates down for the Eldritch Hounds, and absolutely nothing to show for it on this right-hand side. Aquarius able to slip away as the Valhalla Valkyries rotate onto the Eldritch Hounds red buff. It is down, no respawn for quite a while. Crimson and Erupt able to escape to that tier 1 tower, but pressure placed by Oathhh in that right lane means the left lane is free for the Valkyries to move into.
Now, it's interesting to me to see Oathhh put such a heavy priority over here. I think if you get that kill on Aquarius the first time, things are great. You come back the second time, if you're able to lock him down and get that damage, probably still pretty great. I think at this point, though, I'm starting to like reconsider ganking this lane. Like, if Aquarius has gotten away twice, then the third time is just going to happen again, right? You have to be very careful with it. Maybe there's going to be extra lockdown next time, but I think that that's something that you can maybe give up. But again, it's not like you have an easier time ganking anybody else. Kyrmi can just dash twice. Flicker's going to be really good, and BennyQ's going to have a lot of damage and slows to kind of keep this set away from him. Still trying to maybe force some of those relics, control them, maybe give an advantage over towards like Crimson, maybe even going all the way to the other side of the map, which again, not an easy gank at all. It just feels like no matter what, Oathhh is going to find a lot of that in every lane.
Maybe looking for Dude Man Bro to utilize that Cupid ult to force out Wowy's own ultimate for the CC immunity, having that escape down, leaving the Heimdallr only with the Bifrost to get away. Could create potential for Oathhh to move into the lane, but as you said, I mean, gank's tough across the board for both junglers, honestly. EruptCrimson has that blast off, home sweet home for CC immunity. Dude Man Bro just drops the ult, flutters away. Quig, of course, provides a second life to any member of the team. So tough here for both of these junglers to try to get active on the map. So far, Goose Egg on the board, no kills to either of these squads, just past 10 minutes into this game. A slight lead building here for the Valhalla Valkyries, but really no invades or pressure on the enemy side of the map to show.
No, nothing that's been too crazy. I don't think Kyrmi's in too much trouble here. Yeah, especially with Aquarius around by, so they'll be able to get out.
Just fine.
And Kyrmi's actually the person that I wanted to talk about anyway, because the longer this game goes, the more I think Kyrmi has a role to play. And we've gotten, I would say, very used to at least seeing Kyrmi kind of get hands-on kills down in the early game lately, like sub 10 minutes still having 2 or 3. And part of the problem was the Valks not necessarily having much to do with that, right? Like, are you going to go for a 6-minute Gold Fury? Probably not. And so there's not like neutral objectives or any crazy objectives you can go for there. Here on the Nemesis, I don't care that he doesn't have those kills. In fact, I actually prefer it because what I'm looking at is someone who I want to see ult Quig and help his team kill Quig or force Quig to use the Scarab's Blessing on themselves. And then you don't have to worry about that Khepri res.
Kyrmi forcing the issue in mid lane here. Blasting off is the Baba Yaga back under the tier 1 tower. This is a 3-man stack from the Valhalla Valkyries. Aquarius and right lane headed right towards this Pyromancer, forcing out the Baba Yaga in the middle lane. Merlin drops those shards of ice over the top on the Pyromancer. This is a bait/commit. Depends on how the Hounds are able to respond here. Oathhh looking to get in with that Sandstorm, with that Kingslayer as well. Aquarius is playing the zone game, knocks up both the support and the jungler, knocks down Oathhh to half HP. The Valkyries destroy the Pyromancer, and Quig is next.
I mean, look, if they can continue this chase, they might be able to find Benny. There's getting a lot of damage done.
Oh, Aegising the bludgeon is BennyQ, though. Now Gamma with that dishwasher, throwing Remakami back, but a Scarab's Blessing immune that ultimate, so a disengage here by both of the squads. Pyromancer does fall to the hands of the Valks.
And look, that's a huge win. In circumstances like this, you're losing some relics, getting some relics from the other side, but you get the Pyromancer. So at the end of the day, you got what you wanted, which was a little bit more gold in your pocket. And I would argue maybe the first real lead of the game, right? Like looking at the experience, looking at the gold graphs, it's not like anybody's really pulled that far ahead, even though some of it favors the Valks the entirety of the way through. Now, they finally get something to really kind of lean on. And maybe it allows them and opens up this conversation to start fighting for more, maybe going for Gold Furies, things like that, since it's going to be a little easier and maybe just more realistic than trying to get a Fire Giant until at least 5 minutes from now. So I wouldn't be surprised. Some of the pressure shifts over towards the left-hand side for the Valkyries. No buffs are coming up over there, so it would be strictly through lane pressure and maybe team fight pressure. But if they get a pick, they're going to start a Gold Fury up. They're going to get themselves even further of a lead. Same thing, if you're the Hounds, I would expect it and want the exact same kind of play. If you can get a pick over anywhere on the left-hand side or in mid, then go ahead and start getting aggressive, play towards the Gold Fury, force the Valks into a fight, and use your numbers advantage.
For the Eldritch Hounds, you start up the Gold Fury off a pick of, say, BennyQ on the Merlin, right?
Yeah.
Who's really the biggest objective secure that the Valkyries have. But you flip that around, if you're the Valkyries, you're thinking, okay, we take out the Baba Yaga, Dude Man Bro still here with the Fields of Love to zone out the Gold Fury, right? You take out the Cupid, okay, well, Oathhh could 5 clones skewer over the wall for a ton of damage. So many opportunities for secure on the side of the Eldritch Hounds. Can the Valhalla Valkyries really just find one pick and go for the objective despite all of the AoE on the side of the Hounds?
I think so, and it's only because, like you said, with Merlin, even though it's not like he's just not the best secure, period. Like that's just an easy statement. But he does so much burn damage that it feels like trying to time something to work. Like, you don't have an I'm a Monster or something that's just like, bam, slam, there's 900 damage in one spot. And so if they just burn it faster than you can throw the Fields of Love out, but they might just get it before it pops. It would still be a 50-50 though, so like you said, like getting one pick can give them confidence. I don't know if getting that one pick is then going to be the immediate, okay, this is guaranteed for us. But it could start up a fight. They either find a second one or they can force people out. They might end up getting forced out themselves. And at that rate, it'll be, I think, just a fun one to watch because relics are coming back up, right? Benny had dropped both of his earlier. Same thing, Dude Man Bro dropped those beads, so they're going to have all of those.
Yep.
And it just means that it's going to make things, I want to say, more explosive. I mean, no first blood for 15 minutes into this one. Not only does that bounty, like, admittedly, 600 gold 15 minutes in is not a lot, but it feels like it's going to be helpful because that fight theoretically steamrolls into more than just the first blood. It's 1 or 2, and it's an objective afterward, right? And you know, if it waits even longer, like, I mean, if we go another couple of minutes without it, then instead of, hey, they're going to get a Gold Fury for free, it's, hey, that's a Fire Giant and your front tower lines, probably your tier 2s as well. And so, like, that's the awkward portion of this game for I would say, the Hounds is dealing with that. Because I think the Valkyries, especially with the experience they have dealing with teams like the Kings, they know what kind of shot calling happens at the 20-minute mark when there hasn't been a whole ton of action, and they know exactly how they want to play this.
I think the pace of this game, no surprise from a compositional standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint. It's Elimination Sunday, right? This is the last shot that the Eldritch Hounds have to maintain their hopes to move into next week. And for the Valhalla Valkyries, you're fighting to make sure you can 2-0 this SCC squad and not lose the first game of an SCC squad. I mean, all the SPL squads have found 2-0s over their SCC opponents. So a bit of ego on the line here for the Valhalla Valkyries, making sure they can clean sweep the Hounds as Crimson drops to half HP just from that Vortex out of BennyQ. Gold Fury started up here by the Valks. BennyQ rotating over, so no burn damage online quite yet. Only Dude Man Bro and Quig here thus far. Oathhh and Crimson lurking around the corner, but the Gold Fury drops low. The Gold Fury goes in the ground. The Eldritch Hounds not pushing the issue here. Oathhh wrapping around the back line. Finally, Dude Man Bro the target as Aquarius has made the rotation over from the solo lane. Fields of Love out, doesn't find value. Kyrmi is the benefactor of a shield, so survives the initial engagement, but Oathhh finishes off the Nemesis.
And there's going to be a good res from Khepri. Aquarius pulled back in, but the Valks, I don't think they want this fight that much.
Remakami also shielded up, surviving with just a sliver of HP. Same can be said for Dude Man Bro. BennyQ under half. Gamma low on mana and having to back away are the Valhalla Valkyries. But grabbing the Gold Fury, I mean, how much are you really concerned if you're the Valks about dropping First Blood?
Yeah, it's that you know, jungle for Gold Fury doesn't feel great. First Blood on your jungle for Gold Fury going to the set doesn't feel great. But also, like you said, when it comes like to math, you're still ahead, right? You don't jump up anywhere near as much. You get about half the value of the Gold Fury in total. I think maybe a little more than that. But realistically, you're still happy with it, right? A 1 for Gold Fury trade usually is going to be worthwhile. You burn a lot of relics on the other team. Like, the Hounds invested a lot to make that happen. But you'd also lose, I think, a lot of pressure around the map. I was absolutely blown away, though, and it kind of showcased their objective burn there. That's the power of the Merlin, right? It took half the time for them to get half of its health for him to kill it.
Moving in as Aquarius, but the Hounds able to secure the Pyromancer, so that came realistically off that Gold Fury fight. So Gold Fury goes the way of the Valks, Eldritch Hounds find First Blood, and now a Pyromancer. The math is starting to skew a little bit more in direction of the Hounds.
Yeah, it's to the point where, I mean, they might not be further ahead than they were before. It might just go back kind of to square one, right?
Definitely
where it's like,
feeling better.
Hey, yeah, the Valkyrie, like, you're feeling really good about it, I think. You get a good team fight. You make the Valks have to, like, force a retreat. You get a kill. You get a Pyromancer. You pull things back so that it's not an egregious lead. But it's back to where they were right before that Gold Fury starts, right? When it was 0-0 and just the one Pyromancer. That's about the gold lead that is separating these two teams now. So you're still, you know, a little behind, but not struggling by any means whatsoever. And if anything, I think showcasing about how disruptive this draft can be. Kind of curious, you know, Khepri has been just like on the top order for a lot of these teams, and I think that yesterday you go back and watch the subs that the Valks had versus the Kings, and I think there's some of those fights they probably win if there's not a Khepri there. They might have gotten at least a game. And instead, they let it through twice. And I'm starting to wonder if there's something correlating these, because this is a good look for the Hounds. And a lot of the fights, the thing that went wrong during that last one was the Khepri res kind of just enabling someone like Oathhh or Remakami to just be able to jump in deep and not have to worry too much because Quig's got their back.
Both Set and Bellona trying to get deep in the back line of the Valhalla Valkyries. Checking out these item builds, the Hunter's chugging right along, finish off those chin sides. That's going to be a big-time power spike. Looking at this set, Silver Branch Bow picked up in the third item, really looking to make use of that Kingslayer ultimate, trying to summon as many clones as possible. On the other side, a Toxic Blade pickup for Kyrmi, and finishing it off there with the big old orange sword.
Yeah, the Erendite. I'm excited to watch this one. I'm wondering if it's going to go, you know, we've typically been seeing like Magi's Revenge right afterward, just even more movement speed to chase people down. Yeah. And it could be huge if they decide to pick it up for a team fight. I mean, moments like this, you just get better chase down. Granted, Remakami just ults away. It's not going to make it that easy to maybe find that space. But it does give Kyrmi a lot of opportunities in team fights.
Trebuchet rolling down this right-hand side. Remakami is losing half their HP. Yoinked back in by the Merlin. Scarab's Blessing gets the Bellona out of danger. Fields of Love used by DMB to separate the team fight straight in half. The Trebuchet still rolling down this right-hand side. Aquarius at half HP. Kyrmi dropping low as well. Gamma isn't the healthiest, but around the back, here comes the set. Here comes Oathhh with that Kingslayer. Skewer out onto Gamma. Not going in just quite yet. No blink available for the set as well. It's going to be Bead Aegis pickup for the Eldritch Hounds jungler, so no real way in there into the backline of the team fight besides that teleport, but the Fire Giant started up here by the Eldritch Hounds, forcing out the Valhalla Valkyries. BennyQ hovering around this right-hand side. Same thing with Wowy, so the two backliners, the only real fight here the Valhalla Valkyries have, as Kyrmi is rotated in, Aquarius teleporting in as well. Doomman Bro still low in the backline. Oathhh dropping low, forcing the Aegis. Wowy takes out the jungler.
Yeah, Wowy just plays that the exact way you want the matchup, and Aquarius is teleporting. He gets a two-man knockup.
Whoa, big-time knockup, but the Heart Bomb dissuades Aquarius from pushing any further. Remakami, one more auto will do it. Kyrmi finds the kill onto the solo laner. Aquarius finally takes down the Cupid, and a two-man, three-man make it swing for the Valhalla Valkyries. An ill-timed and ill-fated Fire Giant pull from the Eldritch Hounds.
And that's the thing. I like the initial call. Let's pull fire and force Benny or Wowy to come in.
Big time.
They get aggressive a little bit, and then they go too deep. The minute Aquarius teleports in, the team should be getting out of there. In fact, they shouldn't have really gone any too far into the blue buff anyway. You should have forced them out, zoned them, but kept the damage up.
Home sweet home coming out onto low health targets. Wowy barely escaping with that Bifrost as BennyQ puts the finishing touches on Crimson. Quig has made their way back in. Fire Giant about an 8th HP here. We've seen it stolen by a Khepri before. Can we see it one more time? The root comes out. The Valhalla Valkyries secure the Fire Giant for the first time. 2150, let's call it.
I mean, look, that is just a massive swing in their favor, right? The three-man fight, a kill on the Remakami, Oathhh, and Dudeman Bro because of an overstep from the Hounds. Really, honestly, I have to give shout-outs like BennyQ using his relics incredibly well because Oathhh was back there and causing trouble. Wowy for the backup, coming in, finding that assist, the shells, you know, again, little relic usages, things, and then just damage numbers from the Valks. They get that kill. You know, you get to see Kyrmi with I think, a beautiful chase down, choosing to chase out Quig, as opposed to turning and just confirming another kill onto Dudeman Bro when the rest of his team already had that. Turn around for the Fire Giant. get a kill onto Crimson like it's nothing, get a zone, and now you're just on a warpath, right? They get that Fury, no problem. You've already got the tier 1 in right. No other towers have fallen so far, but with the Fire Giant 22 minutes in, I expect to see a lot of pressure left side for the Valkyries, open up that side of the map, give themselves that advantage. And we're really starting to see it get reflected, like the gold they just got already picking up and doing well for their builds when it comes down to things like the Soul Reaver being locked in, an Executioner there for Kyrmi. And so they're going to do a lot of damage. They should have some pretty solid shred even without having an EFG or a minion wave to get rid of a lot of these towers. Around the Phoenix line is where you want to see the Hounds do a defense. And with specifically a Baba Yaga, you've got enough AoE and enough damage from your abilities that I don't mind maybe banking on a defense. Same thing with a Cupid in Fields of Love. I think you have a lot of capabilities to do it, but you do need to be grouped up for it. Finally, they're all going to be over here. This is going to be an interesting engagement for the Valkyries to see if they can even get in there. I think they might take too much if they try to dive this.
Kyrmi has pushed out Oathhh, who's just now backing, so not going to be there for the Phoenix push. If this even is going to be a Phoenix push, it looks like the Valhalla Valkyries are posturing away from this left side bird, maybe realizing it's not worth it as Oathhh and Kyrmi are going at it. Aquarius with the Salmon's Leap to take out the set. So Kyrmi baiting in the set, taking an ill-fated 1v1 there. Oathhh had it. Oathhh had that Nemesis dead to rights, only the rotation from the Valkyries saving Kyrmi.
And you know what? Sometimes that's what you need, right? Oathhh doesn't have anybody there. Oathhh uses beads and Aegis, and they only get you so far. Kyrmi doesn't use either relic and just gets to walk away with it with his life.
Nim shield, man.
And yeah, it just goes to show how strong that can be. Now, again, if you're the Valkyries, you're going to have a massive gold infusion from all these towers. Here's just one more for the sake of it. That's going to stack things up for you. And we haven't gotten to see it. I guess technically with Kyrmi, we get the tier 2 there going towards what looks like a Magi's Revenge. But other than that, everybody should have, a lot of gold in hand, about 2K for every other member of the Valkyries. And it's just a non-stop shop for a gold pickup on the way out, right? Every single tower swing, so the Titan's going to be, a lot more weak on the side of the Hounds. You get every jungle camp that you can available, to the point where they didn't even pick up the speed buff. They just dropped it. And still technically a minute on the power play.
Oh, Kyrmi dashing in, but dashing out, seeing the rest of the Eldritch Hounds coming to help their ADC, deciding not to tangle with the entirety of the Hound squad. You know, one of my fellow SOC casters, Alpha Jackal, the illustrious Alpha Jackal, has a flowchart for the Fire Giant. You grab Fire Giant, you grab all the towers. If you find a pick, you try for a Phoenix, but you grab the Gold Fury, you grab the Pyro, but you back off, right? That second Fire Giant is where the big Phoenix pushes comes in, right? So, I mean, the Valhalla Valkyries following that flowchart to perfection. They grab all the towers, they grab the Pyromancer, didn't find a pick, so don't worry about the Phoenix push. Let that Fire Giant expire, let it respawn, grab it, maybe take a great fight, then you push to the birds.
Yeah, and honestly, that's just the way it needs to be, right? When you don't have, like, an EFG, if you could get that at 20 minutes, yeah, you're absolutely going to just step into the Phoenix. I don't care if there's 5 people. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. But it's just so difficult when you don't have those backdoor protections, you know, relinquished by the minions. And they have a mage, right? As long as they have someone who can clear pretty well and someone who has AoE abilities, stepping into a Phoenix without being able to guarantee get it is just ridiculous. Yeah, like you're going to lose that fight most of the time. And so I like that the Valks kind of slow play it, like you said. If they don't get a pick, it's just not going to be worthwhile. Get a lot of gold in their pockets, strip the jungle, set themselves up here, because for this Fire Giant fight, it's one of 2 things. Either I guess it's one of 3 things, but if you're in a good position, and they are, you either get the FG or you force a fight at the FG. That fight can go to a loss or a win, depending on how well the Hounds play. But if you win that fight and you're the Valkyries, all of a sudden you've got an FG and an opening to step into the Phoenix, no problem. So it really does kind of create, I think, for itself, the success. And with the way they've been fighting with their engage, I really do like how the Valkyries are approaching these fights. Gamma's really leading the way, but Aquarius has been, I think, just a nuisance with the not only teleporting in deep, but like the knockups and now, a blink available. All of that can be huge.
Oh, what a great pick here onto Kyrmi, using that Nemesis shield to gain back some life, and the Nemesis shield saving the life of Kyrmi, just barely. Gammon out with the washing machine, grabbing Quig, throwing the support in the backline for the Valhalla Valkyries. Remakami surging forward, Quig dropping low.
Love it.
Quig going down to the autos from Wowy. What an incredible escape there from Kyrmi to secure 2 kills for their team.
Yeah, I mean, just wonderful play. And then focusing
Wow.
Quig of all people. Scarab's Blessing is still up, but who are you going to use it on? Yourself? Like, it doesn't feel as worthwhile when it's a guaranteed death, but that should be an easy Fire Giant now for the Valkyries. And again, if anyone tries to contest this, they step too far forward, they're going to be staggered out. This could be a huge win for the Valkyries.
And we're talking about actives. Kyrmi didn't even have to use any as Oathhh is the new target. A just popped by the set. Able to teleport out, but there's Aquarius around the corner with the Salmon's Leap to finish off the jungler. Dude Man Bro, the next target here from Kyrmi, uses the beads. Auto attack, and down goes the Cupid. Why even get the Fire Giant when there's 4 members of the Eldritch Hounds down now for this Phoenix push? The Valhalla Valkyries not looking incredibly healthy here. EruptCrimson could put up a great defense. No home sweet home available. Potion comes out onto Aquarius. Kyrmi wrapping around this left side to help out their Trebuchet. Shoving forward 4 members of the Valkyries. Quig grabbing Aquarius, the only target possible for this Khepri. Middle lane Bird falls. Left side Bird getting targeted down by Kyrmi, but Remakami's back online.
And I think the Valks are probably going to have to play this exactly like that.
Yeah,
Trebuchet, they might be able to play with the Trebuchet a little bit. They might be able to re-engage. Remakami's getting a little too aggressive.
Gamma's low, Kyrmi's low as well. Trebuchet falling down. Crimson throwing out those home sweet home shots. Wowy forcing the ultimate just to escape.
Oh, no,
Where's
Benny.
BennyQ on the front line? The Merlin playing solo lane. Remakami forced out with the Eagles rally. Quig dashes away as well with a 2-man scare there out of Aquarius. And yeah, the Valhalla Valkyries dropping low. I'm not sure you can keep re-engaging with Oathhh coming back.
But look how low they got that Phoenix. I mean, that's going to be an easy walk-in and kill off.
That's a sneeze.
And, I mean, admittedly, like, this is not by any means what they were going for, but it works out for them. They're only a minute away from an EFG, so if they really want to, they can just wait about 40 seconds now and then kill it when it's enhanced. That makes things a lot easier. They get at least 1 Phoenix, though. And again, after a beautiful fight, right? Kyrmi getting out of there, the dive and the chase the Hounds had to have to get that much damage and then not get the kill, it hurts. I mean, it just hurts so much how far you have to go for that. But then you fall a little behind, you know, unfortunately for Quig. You just straight up get caught out. That's a good ult from Gamma, recognizing that there's no beads. If you can't use the Scarab's Blessing on you, you can't cleanse anything. So you're stuck in that position, thrown back. BennyQ's got a lot of damage. They had body blocks as well, and that's what I want to see in these fights, is like if you can focus Quig out or force that ult onto either Quig or someone who's just not going to make it out anyway, then you're going to be more than happy with what you can do around this Khepri. And I like to see the adaptation from the Valkyries, because yesterday this Khepri was such a huge thorn in their sides that it just caused too much trouble. Now, though, it is that appropriate response, right? They've got a massive lead. They've got items and items. I mean, straight up full tier 3 in mid over their opponents. A Magi's Revenge for Kyrmi over Oathhh. So there's a lot that's going to enable them in this fight that's just going to allow it to play in their hands. And for the Hounds, you just have to be very careful of your positioning. That's what's given you up the last 2 times. And so you don't want to overstep this. You don't want to be the one that gets caught out. And I'm specifically looking at some of the carries, right? If Oathhh, Crimson, or Dude Man Bro are even a step out of position, the Valkyries will not hesitate. Specifically, Aquarius will not hesitate to jump down and be the one that sets his team up and sets you up on a silver platter.
Pyromancer drops down here for the Valhalla Valkyries, looking for the initiation. BennyQ has been playing up on this Merlin all game long. It's been working out. Oathhh 1v1 versus Kyrmi. Kyrmi getting the upper hand over the jungler, and a pick in the middle lane for the Valhalla Valkyries. That'll open the door wide for this EFG. Fields of Love utilized on Nemesis for absolutely nothing there. Gamma yanked in, Remakami in the back line, chunking down Wowy, but BennyQ is here to play support. The solo laner for the Eldritch Hounds falling low.
Yeah, good. Scarab's Blessing the Quig keeps Remakami alive. And look, of all the things that go wrong there for them, right? You lose Oathhh, Oathh's ult, Oath's beads, Oath's Aegis. You lose Dude Man Bro's ult as well without getting too much to show for it. Keeping Remakami alive feels like a small win, but a win nonetheless here for the Hounds. Just to keep some of the numbers somewhat on their side. But look at Kyrmi. I love this. It's a 4-on-4 on right. Kyrmi can just kind of free roam.
Home Sweet Home still online here for Crimson, and that's the big one. Right, that's the one that could be game-changing in this team fight, but no team fight even necessary. The Valks and the Hounds disengage on the right-hand side, and Kyrmi picks up that left side Phoenix, as I said, with just a sneeze of HP left. Kyrmi goes, and down goes the bird.
And at this point, look, I don't know that there's really, well, I guess there is still a presence from the Hounds. I didn't think that they were going to step this far out. I mean, trying to fight around this FG, It's that weird balance between absolutely necessary because you're missing 2 Phoenixes, and that is scary with the amount of damage that the Valks have. They could just ignore you under the Titan, and you know, with BennyQ and Wowie's damage, they'll just kill it faster than you can really respond. And so I think that you kind of have to show face here, but I don't think it's going to be a fight that you're really confident in.
Speaking of killing it faster than you can respond, the Fire Giant under half HP, just baiting now are the Valkyries. Gamma leashing that main objective. Crimson, Remakami, DMB, Quig, all around this Fire Giant pit. In the middle lane, once again, Oathhh and Kyrmi, but we know how that went last time.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't happen again for the Eldritch Hounds. They cannot lose Oathhh in that middle lane 1v1 with Kyrmi. It has to be a big 5-on-5 engagement here from the Eldritch Hounds. Quig shoving forward, grabbing Gamma, locked down in the Fields of Love is the Xing, who has to use that dishwasher for the CC immunity. One more shot from Home Sweet Home is going to finish off Gamma, but meanwhile, Oathhh falling low to Kyrmi wins the 1v1. This time, Aquarius dropping low, getting chunked down. Oathhh finds himself a double kill. EruptCrimson escaping.
Those are huge kills, and Wowy might go down as well. This is great for the Hounds.
Not quite.
Oh,
Wowy
no.
putting the finishing touches there on Remakami, escaping with maybe 100 HP to their name. So it's going to be a 2-for-2. Which one of these 3-man squads are you looking at here? Who won this fight?
I give it over to the Hounds, and exclusively because there's no reason you should have gotten any kills in that fight. I think they play it well, and again, you know, to the point like Oathhh didn't have any relics and still is able to find that kill onto Kyrmi. Quig in the middle of that has a 6 save that keeps his team going, and that's a lot of it, right? Is the Khepri being able to make 1 save, right? You get a lot of good relics and admittedly some ults on the other side, so the Hounds are definitely going to be missing things for the next big engagement. But finding Aquarius, who has been like the leading factor for, I would say, their deficit, as well as getting rid of Kyrmi, was a good turnaround for them. And then it's just an issue of separation, right? A couple of people were zoned out and zoning out at the same time, and those are the ones that die, right? Dude Man Bro, Remakami, kind of caught out a little deep, and sometimes that's just going to happen. But if your 0-3-3 Cupid is still able to buy space for somebody else to get some kills, it feels like a small win, but again, a win nonetheless. Because at this point, if you're the Hounds, like you're trying to get your Phoenixes to respawn, mid is up, but weakened. You're trying to make sure that no fire minions go in on left. This Fire Giant should not have been anything that you could really even contest, and the fact that they've been contesting it and essentially delayed it for like 10 minutes has been amazing.
Benny might be the target here. No flicker, but this Fire Giant is just gone. No shot there for the Hounds. Dude Man Bro in the backline getting aggressed upon by Aquarius. Dropped to under half HP. Crimson finds no value with that Home Sweet Home. That is massive. Remakami now running away, leading the charge for the retreat here from the Eldritch Hounds. Surging forward are the Valhalla Valkyries. Kyrmi would love to take this 1v1 again, except this time actives online for both Kyrmi and Oathhh, and the Eldritch Hounds losing that EFG to the Valhalla Valkyries. I don't even say losing. They had no, I mean, it wasn't in the hands of the Hounds at all. The Valhalla Valkyries claiming that EFG from the map.
Yeah.
Eldritch Hounds have no choice but to retreat under Phoenix.
Now it comes back to Phoenix defenses. Look, mid's already weakened. You've got an EFG this time. You don't need the minions to step in, although you'd like them. Crimson is going to be a huge factor for whether or not the Valkyries can find success here, as well as some of the CC from Remakami.
Divine Judgment online from Kyrmi, utilized onto Dude Man Bro, who gets that Scarab's Blessing. Aquarius once again leading the charge. Right side Phoenix falls. Aquarius takes out the Cupid as Quig is yoinked into the back line by the Xing. Wowy takes out Quig. Remakami forced to Eagles rally back to base. And 2 weakened Phoenixes are all that stands between the Valhalla Valkyries and game 1 of this best of 3 grudge match. Remakami, Crimson, and Oathhh. Your 3-man squad here from the Hounds playing defense.
Yeah, if you really want, the Valks don't have to worry about these Phoenixes. Look, third bird's about to go down. Going to be pretty easy for them there. Now it's just engage, right? Like you said, Crimson does a lot of damage, so they're going to have to pay attention to this Baba Yaga. Kyrmi's relatively low. They don't have a lot to work with. Mana-wise is low for BennyQ, but they've got an outpouring of damage in about 25 seconds before anyone spawns up. They've got the numbers.
This doesn't have to be special from the Valhalla Valkyries. Just dogpile on this Titan. And dogpile they do. The Valkyries drop the Titan and find the first victory over the Hounds. I should say, the 3rd victory over the Hounds.
Yeah, right now 3-0 over them. Granted, I think that this is a game that they start out, when they get that Pyromancer, feels really good. They get that Gold Fury, feels great. Then the fight afterward and losing the next Pyromancer doesn't feel quite as good. Things start to maybe balance out, and again, once again, towards the Hounds. then that first Fire Giant changes everything. I mean, map state absolutely afterward in favor of the Valkyries. And then, you know, they prolonged it. Like, I think they went for the second FG around that 25, 26-minute mark.
Yep.
And it wasn't until 35 or 34 that they were actually able to pick it up. So it was good on the Hounds to have that presence there and to be able to prolong and find some fights that admittedly were small wins, but still wins nonetheless. But at that point, it's like, cool, you found a double kill. You're 14,000 gold down. You're really far behind in the map state. You've got fire minions still on the left-hand side. It was one of those things that is like, you need this win, and then another, and then another, and then another. So for the next game, I want to see the Hounds try to stay in it a little longer.
After falling 0-3 thus far at SMITE Summer Masters to the Valkyries, the Hounds have to dig deep for a Game 2 victory. That's coming at you in just a second.
And I got you feeling wavy. Way too early to be hazy. Start a 10 job cause you crazy. Yeah, you back in the game and you don't feel ashamed. Always want me at your parties. Like me next to a Bacardi. Cause you know I'm spinning faster than a Harley. Yeah, you're still in the game but you don't feel ashamed. You just close your eyes when you wish to be free. You look up to the sky and call on me. Let me put color in your sky, take away the gray. Turn the roof to a floor on a Saturday. Up your doll in the night, you do what I say. I'm just a getaway, I'm just your getaway. I'll make you warm if it's chilly and I probably make you say things you wouldn't do normally. I'm like a 9 to 5 job, but you work for me. I'm your getaway, cause you can get away. I got no perception. What is real, what's your projection? I make you dizzy and you ain't got no protection. You're lost in the game, can't remember your name. Falling on the horn and my sheep will come to play. You can get no sleep, stay awake to numb the pain. Make you save your problems for another day. I'm your getaway, but you can get away. You just close your eyes when you wish to be free. You look up to the sky and call on me. Let me put color in your sky, take away the gray. Turn the roof to a floor on a Saturday. Up it tall in the night, you do what I say. I'm just a getaway, I'm just your getaway. I'll make you warm if it's chilly and I probably make you say things you wouldn't do normally. I'm like a 9 to 5 job that you want.
Hello and welcome back to the SMITE Summer Masters. Game number 1 goes over to the SPL once again. The Valhalla Valkyries up against the Eldritch Hounds are now currently 3-0 game-wise, but at least in this set it starts out with just a 1-0. And I'll be honest, first 16, 17 minutes, you really didn't miss much action. It was pretty much a stalemate battle through and through. Then we finally get to see a little bit of that battle go through where the Eldritch Hounds come up with first blood and they get a Pyromancer. But at one point, we look up and go, oh, first blood, Pyromancer, that's good for the Hounds. Why are they further behind than when they were against the Valkyries before that?
Yeah, just that macro farm. It's the difference between SPL and SCC again. You're just used to a different pace of game. You have to be so on time with every single timer. Greater Scorpion, mid-camp, Oracle, offering, anything that isn't just locked down and bolted to your side of the map. SPL teams are always there on respawn, and the SCC have a little bit more leeway as far as just macro farm goes. So it is a major adjustment for these teams in the lower league to figure out how to keep pace with the SPL. I mean, even considering, sure, yes, the Valhalla Valkyries on a massive resurgence recently, there's not the best macro team in the league, but regardless, still able, through First Blood and a Pyromancer, to maintain and extend their own gold lead with a 0 in the kill column. Just clean, clinical map play from the Valhalla Valkyries nets them the early lead in this one. And then by the time the team fight started to come consistently, when it was 5-on-5 after 5-on-5, already the Valkyries had established themselves nearly 4,000 or 5,000 gold in the lead. Very difficult to fight into that kind of deficit, especially with this style of draft from the Eldritch Hounds. If you're really reliant on DPS dive, which is what Bellona and Set is, Bellona doesn't have the same level of hard CC as like King Arthur or things of the like. Set doesn't have the same initiation as things like Thor, like a Hunbots, doesn't go in and stun you. It's, I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to pray that I do enough damage to scare them away from me. You don't deal enough damage to scare them away when you're like 3, 4, 5, 6,000 gold down.
And it's just something that anytime that we talk to the SCC teams and they're kind of talking about their experience against SPL teams, and I think you hit the nail on the head, it's just the farm game of the SPL 1 is already...
Crim's damage?
What's that?
Look at Crim's damage.
Pretty good.
Baba Yaga's a good pick, I've decided.
And what's crazy, it's only 500-ish more than what BennyQ did on the Merlin. Our two mid laners in this matchup definitely putting in the work for their team in the damage column at the very least. But going back onto, you know, the SCC teams talk about the farm game of the SPL is so much different. But they also talk about the level of mistakes. You know, in the SPL, you make one mistake, and that's usually the end of a game. You know, one bad team fight could lead into 2, 3 towers, a fire giant, even just running it down and killing a Titan. Where when you get to the SCC, sometimes you see a mistake made. Okay, whatever, we drop that. We'll come back and we'll get a Gold Fury immediately after that. Now you can really kind of see that difference out here where even though the Eldritch Hounds were able to find a First Blood, they were able to find a Pyromancer, the Valhalla Valkyries have the wherewithal to know that, okay, that's not the end of the world. We'll regroup and we'll just win the next team fight after. We'll see if the Eldritch Hounds can bounce back in game number 2 as we hop into the picks and bans between them and the Valkyries. And this set pick worked out fairly well for Oathhh. He was able to get into the backline, find some good damage throughout the mid and the late game. Unfortunately, that's at that point when his team was fully falling behind against the Valkyries. So when it came to the full 5-on-5, wasn't able to fully step up. We'll see if any changes get made for the Hounds in picks and bans. But largely the same so far and will not change at all for the Eldritch Hounds. They're going to keep their same top 3. Valkyries will remain with their top 3. Only difference is Nemesis banned away this time.
Wonder if the Hounds still pick up Cupid in first slot. Don't have to wonder for too long. They do exactly that. I'm thinking the Eldritch Hounds, and I say this all the time when I see SCC up against SPL. If you're not capable of keeping pace on map, I think the only answer that you can make, the quickest adjustment, it's not the perfect answer by any means, so don't use this as a blanket statement to improve as a team as a whole. But if you need to find wins in an event and you don't have the time to practice the style that's working for the top teams in that event, you gotta just frag them early. I'm talking entry frag. Get in there and make it happen. Pressure, pressure, pressure needs to be the topic of conversation. Cupid, pressure in the duo lane. King Arthur, pressure in the solo lane. I like Baba Yaga, don't get me wrong. I think that god is incredibly strong right now, fully convinced by her performance in longer matches. But what Crimson said to me before the set was, hey, the gods that I'm playing right now, take a little bit of time to hit the ground running. Baba Yaga is in that column. She needs her itemization. Get him something that can play aggressively in the early. It's not a guaranteed win by any stretch of the imagination, but considering what we had seen from the Hounds in Game 1, it was First Blood and Pyromancer. That works out for you. If you can expedite that process, make it happen at the 9-minute mark, 10-minute mark instead of 17, 18 minutes, all of a sudden these leads are going to come a little bit easier. So I would like to see the Hounds really lean into that style. When they're feeling confident in the North American SEC during the regular phase, that's the style they lean on regardless. Why not do it here?
Along with Cupid, it's King Arthur and Khepri for the Eldritch Hounds. Valhalla Valkyries to round out their top three. Bellona, Xing, and a Muzen Cobb. So we've got the frontliners, and we got what we can assume to be a pick for BennyQ in the mid lane. And that opts for a few mid lane bans out of the Valkyries. Discordia and the Morgan, and then Artemis and Soul the bans to take a couple of shots over at Wowy in the dual lane. And to kind of harp on your point a little bit there about when these team fights are starting to break out later and later in the game, when you're waiting until 15 to 20 minutes to really start getting those fights. It's something that we've heard the pros talk about, where the later you wait to have that first team fight, the worse it gets for you, because you lose a 3v3 in minute 5 of the game. It's whatever. It's it's only 5 minutes in. They can't get a Gold Fury. They can't get a Pyro. You lose it 20 minutes in. All of a sudden, that 3-man loss you had now opens up a Fire Giant, a Pyro, a Gold Fury, a few towers over. So the Eldritch Hounds, I think you're right to say, definitely want to try and get it going a little bit earlier this game and not wait to be 1-1 at 20 minutes in the game.
Yeah, I consider the slower-paced games to be a massive game of chicken that is weighted by the confidence in your own late-game composition. If you think you win 5-on-5 and you outdraft, go ahead. You can wait till the 45-minute mark for all I care to take your first bit of PvP. But you gotta be right, because if you're wrong, exactly as you said, first fight happened at 45 minutes, who cares?
Over.
Yeah, you just lost. That's GG. Enhanced Fire Giant, and all your towers don't matter anymore. So when I see these teams take the slower approach, when you can very clearly see that one side is going to outscale, it just always surprises me. That's not to say that doesn't have any bearing on the current match. I'd argue that as of now, sure, the scaling of the Valkyries draft probably slightly higher with this AMC, the Ratatoskr in the late game. I would argue that individual picks from the Hounds probably will lose a bit of value as the game goes on, but as it stands, the Merlin shoring up some of that late game damage. King Arthur establishes pressure, acts as a bridge into the late. Cupid establishes pressure, acts as a bridge into the late. Susano, I know the meme is he's not supposed to 100-0. My man 100-0s. He's pretty strong in the late. So that's your team fight AoE CC. You've got the space control from King Arthur. If the fights go long, you've got healing thanks to this Cupid. But now with AMC and Freya on the other side, I'm expecting the Hounds to try and pick up the pace.
They definitely need to. But as we've talked with pros, and as Zapman has gone on record to say during the interviews, is Freya is no longer just the late game hyper carry. She's no longer a mid to late game hyper carry. She is just a carry at this point in time, especially with the changes that we see to Conduit Gem and how popular that item is with her. So now for the Eldritch Hounds, with the Susano at least locked in for Oathhh into the jungle, where does Oathhh now go to try and get that early pressure for the Eldritch Hounds, to try and get them that early lead that they're going to need against the Valks?
You've got good matchup into both Freya and AMC as Susano, so thankfully you can get active that way. Apply your dot damage to Freya. Valkyrie's discretion doesn't matter. It takes a couple of items to get that life steal so she won't be able to survive the dot, and she'll die in midair. That's very nice. Gap close, very easy for Susano. Teleport forward, pull in an AMC, keep him in the tornado, and pray that you've got the damage output behind you to finish him off. So I think the carries of the Valkyries, very susceptible to the ganks from Oathhh. That said, Oathhh has been taking a bit of a slower approach all week so far. He really does wait until about second item until he decides to get active on map. And Susano's a god that is going to kind of influence that playstyle as well. You don't really want to get overly active, especially if you see that Transcendence start. But I think that I would really like to see him make his stamp known. Specifically, I think AMC probably the easier of those two targets and likely will be in mid. Get active. Get there.
So now we have kind of that call, at least for Oathhh, to be able to try and get to one of these carries, to try and get active maybe a little bit earlier than normal, maybe not wait till that second or third item before getting in there. But should this game go to another 35-plus minute game like we saw in game number 1, Mifflin, where we're waiting until these Fire Giant dances, we're waiting for these Phoenix Sieges more than anything, do the Eldritch Hounds have a team fight to be able to try and fight against the Valhalla Valkyries at that point?
I am so concerned about that portion of the game in particular because the strength of any King Arthur composition is the space that he creates. He does enough damage and has enough CC that generally the backline on the other side has to be concerned about it. When your backline is Freya, you're not concerned about just about any frontliner that stands in front of you, man. You're autoing for 400 and healing for 100 per auto.
Well, the Eldritch Hounds, backs against the wall, 1 game away from elimination. The Valkyries 1 game away from promotional. Who's going to take game 2? We'll jump right in with the casters to find out.
The Eldritch Hounds 1 game away from elimination. The undefeated #1 seeded NA SCC squad. 1 game to do it, Gore. Taking on the Valhalla Valkyries. It's Dimes, it's Gore, it's Doug spectating. Bit of a switch up here in composition, letting the King Arthur through. Remakami picks that one up for themselves. Of course, Oathhh picking up the Susano. Crimson stealing the Merlin away from BennyQ. And the Eldritch Hounds reprising this duo lane. Do you think this composition is enough for the Eldritch Hounds just compositionally to fight back into the Valhalla Valkyries?
I mean, very much like Mifflin was saying, right? When you've got someone specifically like a King Arthur, you know, later on, you're going to be set in team fights. You're going to have the burn from Crimson. I think Dude Man Bro and Quig did their jobs well enough, right? So, like, the top 3 changes that they have for the Hounds, I'm a big fan of just because I think it does what they wanted to do a little better. The thing, and it's something Mifflin had noted, I'm going to keep my eyes on Oathhh because I feel like they need some of that late or early gank potential, early kills, get themselves ahead or off to the right foot. You know, Susano early on when it's just beads, just a few abilities, is going to be able to pretty easily gank the Valkyries for Wowy or for BennyQ. But as time goes on, all of a sudden, you know, BennyQ's got Gamma and Kyrmi next to him, or Wowy's going to have Valkyrie's Discretion plus the beads plus just a whole lot of damage that Freya's able to output. And so there's just as likely opportunities for you to come and gank and then just get outright killed the longer you wait. And that's going to be a big problem, I think, for the Hounds to deal with a little bit later on. You know, Remakami is going to do a good job of creating space. They've got good burn damage. Admittedly, BennyQ, Wowy, mostly single target, so Quig is going to be pretty happy about that. Just toss your Scarab's Blessing on whoever's lowest. They're probably going to get it procced and come back to life. But finding those fights and making sure that they're actually something worthwhile, making sure that, you know, in any 1v1s that might happen, go your way. That's going to be something I think that skews maybe a little early. Then there's like a little bowl in the middle for the Hounds, and then late game they come back online.
This ticking time bomb in the Freya and the Muzen Cobb, who we've seen banned over and over just because of the pure damage output from the B, especially piloted by BennyQ. Ticking time bomb, like I said here, from the Valhalla Valkyries, but you talk about initiation potential. I mean, the Kyrmi, right, on this Ratatoskr, dunking down from the tree. You follow that up with Gamma, with the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, Aquarius leaping over the top with that Eagles Rally. You can initiate, reinitiate, and then if you need to, from the Valks, reinitiate one more time. I mean, ridiculous. We talk about compositions that lack that initiation factor. How do you get in? You're struggling. The Valhalla Valkyries have that in spades.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, Stinger as well. Like, BennyQ's ult is going to be massive for them. And I think that's going to be a big deal.
Ooh, Oathh's not in the best spot here. Able to use that jet stream to teleport away. Crimson taken down to under half HP in the mid lane. Remakami now being chunked at by Aquarius as Kyrmi and the solo laner for the Valkyries team up on this blue buff invade. Taken down here by Kyrmi, stripped away from the King Arthur. As a King Arthur, that's never something you're pleased about.
No, especially considering you're supposed to be the bully, dude. You're the one who's supposed to be, you know what, their blue buff, things like that. But that just goes to show the presence of the jungler being important, right? Kyrmi loses out a little bit on like farm that he's going to get, but he makes up for it by stealing a blue buff. I believe they just got the coup as well, and they own their own blue buff. So if anything, comes out, well, actually still technically slightly behind in terms of experience, but maybe ahead in terms of where things are going to go for the jungle, because he hasn't cleared out a speed buff or the back camps just yet. And so at the end of the right side jungle, Oathhh is going to be behind, and that's where those little moments like that become a big deal. And then I almost want to see more out of Oathhh right now, because yes, Ratatoskr can get online and hands-on early, but so can you.
Dude, man, bro's a sniper with these heart bombs. All weekend long, threading the needle through the wave, connecting the heart bombs onto priority targets, as Quig and DMB are going to combine to take out those small purple buff minions there. Can't find the big-time invade, but that's going to be enough for now. Remakami teleporting to
Did
tower.
he just teleport to tower in tower?
I was looking at you. You were supposed to confirm that for me. I saw the teleport being channeled, and then, did he mean to back? But then okay, so Remakami burning the teleport in place, not exactly the start you want here from the King Arthur. Yeah, I looked to you because you were supposed to confirm that my eyeballs were not deceiving me.
No, but I want my eyeballs to be deceiving me. That's the thing.
Whoa! Wowy surviving with just a sliver of HP there. The Typhoon coming out from Oathhh, just hitting level 5. And luck there, pure luck there from Wowy that the Typhoon isn't able to take out the Freya.
Yeah, look, and honestly unfortunate, because if the Hounds get that kill, I have something way more to talk about. Wowy gets out of that barely,
just barely.
With his life. Heavy investment there from Oathhh. But Remakami.
Yeah, let's circle back around to
and
that.
Look, grand scheme, is it the worst thing that could happen to you in the world? Yes, because we caught it on camera. I think that
caught it 4K,
yeah,
baby.
It's one of those things that at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal, right? You're still going to be able to get to your farm. You might lost a little bit of time. In fact, it gives some pressure over here to the right, to the Valkyrie.
Here we go, Kyrmi dropping down onto the blue buff, secures it for the solo laner. I don't know how much further the Valhalla Valkyries want to push this. They just wanted that blue buff, strip it away from King Arthur, not necessarily looking for the pick, the engagement. So Kyrmi and Aquarius combining to once again strip Remakami from that blue buff, and it's just solo lane bullying all day long here.
I'm still caught up on the teleport.
I mean, I am too, man.
I'm trying to move on, but my brain just won't let me. No,
You have your hands steepled deeply in thought, like, what is going on?
Me, all right, so here's how this could work.
Okay, it had to be Remakami was trying to back to base.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Or
and
like a scourge or something hit him that I just I must have tuned out because solo lane.
Probably had the shop.
Open and everything.
And then
like
you couldn't, and you just
very standard stuff. It just goes wrong.
Just
sometimes.
unfortunate.
And,
Pure unfortunate.
And again, very unfortunate because we got it on camera. Otherwise, would not have been mentioned and probably wouldn't have even mattered.
I mean, how many times through the SPL do players accidentally hit beads or accidentally hit A just walking out a fountain?
Man.
And we just don't catch it on camera. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I mean, we catch plenty on camera, but I'm sure it happens much more.
And how many times? Look, that's too real. Actually, he's hitting your beads accidentally. I don't like that comparison.
Banish grabs Dude Man Bro here, who drops the Fields of Love to separate the distance. Like you said, no mana. BennyQ has made the rotation from mid lane here, but not too much mobility available to the B. So DMB drops the ult, get out of danger, no problem there. Purple buff not respawning for just a little bit here, so Gamma can't pressure forward anymore.
Fun to see, though, the Valks being able to put a lot of pressure out there. Again, I think that realistically, and Mifflin had mentioned it, Oathhh gets a little more hands-on with the ganks when he's finished his second item, or started at least his second item. So maybe we'll start to see some of that. But Kyrmi has been hanging out on the right-hand side of the map. That blue buff might as well just be the Valkyries. They still have a ward on it as well.
Yeah.
So they've got the timer, coverage, pressure, all the things that they truly want. And then they're starting to win some fights. Like Wowy, if either of those kills, the one under the tier 1 or the one under the tier 2, whether it went to Dude Man Bro or Oathhh, if either of those had happened, it would have felt like a huge win. But now you've got Wowy in a spot where Freya, who admittedly has had to be pushed back, TKO'd a couple of times, but hasn't lost their life, is still farming up pretty well and comfortably. It just means that things are going to get deadly very quickly. And, you know, you're going for a Transcendence on the Cupid. It's going to take a while for that to stack up. It's going to take a while for you to feel maybe the impact of it. Whereas you get kind of instant gratification if you're Wowy, you're going for a ring early on. Curious as if we'll see, you know, like Bancroft's Talon kind of worm its way into the build. We've seen it a few times with the nimble Bancroft's Talon, just to give that extra attack speed and a good chunk of power and some really nice lifesteal that plays in part with your passive to keep you alive really well. It's going to be fun to watch, but, you know, Freya, and we had kind of talked about this when the item had come out, the rings themselves don't give a ton of power. And Freya, I feel like, is one that needs, you know, very specific. I don't want to call them niche, but like some of the more niche ones, like this hastened ring is the best example.
Yeah, you're not picking that up on everybody.
Yeah, I was like, Soul doesn't necessarily need that. Oleron doesn't really need that. Chronos, you can get it, but you don't really need it. Freya wants it to stick to people.
Kyrmi easily jumping up on the branches here. You just jump, and dunk back down a billion miles away on this Ratatoskr, so no problem there. We saw pressure established on the right-hand side from the Valhalla Valkyries. You saw Gamma move in, strip away some of those offerings from the left-hand side. So now the Valhalla Valkyries expanding their presence across the map here. Looks like Oathhh and Quig are looking for something to strip away from the Valhalla Valkyries jungle, and looping all the way back around in this Tier 1 tower, looking for this immobile B Typhoon out from Oathhh, knocking up BennyQ and dropping down the mid laner for first blood.
And look, that's a good kill, right? I mean, you're able to get in, you get your kill, you use your ult, you get a good gank from Oathhh. Like you said, even Quig getting in on that, but tanking the tower for them so that nobody has to trade out. Scarab's Blessing is there. Yeah, do you use some relics? But it's worthwhile, right? I think, especially because, surprising me, the Valkyries had done so much in terms of farming that their lead was getting uncomfortably large for 10 minutes. And that first blood, and specifically the bounty that comes with it, helps pull things back. Also, BennyQ was a little bit ahead in terms of farm of Crimson. Now they're at least on parity in terms of level. And you can see that Kyrmi ahead in level, Aquarius ahead in level. That's something that the Hounds being able to even just get that one kill is going to at least help pull back on.
The Valks grabbing this totem, or I should say Aquarius grabbing this totem. The Eldritch Hounds were able to claw back their blue buff from the grasp of the Valhalla Valkyries. But while Oathhh was doing that, Kyrmi helped himself to those back camps, a second round of back camps, mids are respawning. So even though the blue buff does go the way of the Hounds, the Valkyries strip away every other meaningful piece of jungle here from the Hounds. Gamma yoinked in. Here comes the dishwasher onto Khepri, who uses that Scarab's Blessing preemptively. Can't pop it quite yet, but Kyrmi does so right as the Scarab's Blessing expires.
I mean, just timing-wise, that's so good, right? Even if they pop that early, they're going to stick to Quig and try to kill him.
Just right in place.
But that's the best case scenario, is you don't have to deal with any of that extra health. You just get the dash, you get the hit. And you love to see it if you're a Valks fan, right? Just being able to get that kill because it opens up a lot. And this is always the thing that I've mentioned tends to be their struggle in some of the SPL games that they've learned a lot here in Phase 2. It's getting the map pressure afterwards, right? Cool, you got a kill. What are you going to do with it, right? If you just get the kill, very similar to what the Hounds were able to do. First blood bounty for the Hounds, that feels nice, but is there anything more that you can pick up in the in phase, anything like that? And the answer for them was no. The Valks, they get a kill, and while it's not a first blood, they immediately get to fall back and grab a Pyromancer. They immediately get to start looking around the map and look for more things to grab.
So the Eldritch Hounds here, macro farming well, pick up this Gold Fury, or start up this Gold Fury, I should say, as Oathhh in the back line is taking on this AMC 1v1. Stingers does drop down. BennyQ able to pick that back up. So a blown ultimate there from the Susano. Gold Fury dropped by the Eldritch Hounds and nothing to show for it.
And honestly, it's actually a big deal that BennyQ was able to safely walk back and pick that up. That Stinger being back for any fight is going to be amazing. And like you said, with Oathhh dropping his ult, that just means that now you're the ones that lose out on that engagement more than anything. You did get the beats from Benny, though, and that's going to make things pretty easy to gain.
Dropping down is Kyrmi. Remakami out of mana. Did a great double stun there. A dart in from the Ratatoskr slows down the King Arthur, allowing the jungler Kyrmi to pick that up for their second kill of this contest.
Good news, though. Oathhh got the blue buff. And look, that's the second one, I think, maybe, I guess including the first one, probably the third one this day. Bad news, yeah, no, you just lose out on a lot. Good news, again, is that Remakami, when he respawns, teleport's going to be coming back up. Probably won't use it to run back because it's just a few seconds off as to where that's going to maybe be as prominent for them. But you're burning a lot. You get the blink out of Kyrmi, ult out of Kyrmi, ult out of Aquarius. You get a cool double stun. It looks pretty flashy.
Yeah.
But unfortunately now the jungler on the other side's up to 0, feeling pretty confident, I think, in Kyrmi's capabilities to look for ganks. So maybe something on the mind of the Hounds that is going to be weighing heavily. With that, plus the Pyromancer, and unfortunately a failed attempt at a Gold Fury for the Hounds, means that they're going to have to play this, I think, very carefully to make sure. If the Valkyries get this Fury and they can go for it anytime in the next few minutes without dropping anybody, they're going to set themselves up for a very comfortable mid and definitely an easy transition into a late game comp.
Well, with all the theft around the map here from the greasy grubbers of the Valhalla Valkyries, already a sizable gold lead here. 3,000 gold built up for the Valhalla Valkyries. Last game by 13 minutes, as we're about 20 seconds away from that point in this one. I mean, what was it, 900, maybe 1,000 of a gold lead? So already the Valkyries tripling their lead from the last game because of this great macro farming, a couple kills onto Kyrmi as well, as just over about a 3,200 gold lead we'll call it, for the Valhalla Valkyries. As Kyrmi is in the air looking for Dudeman Bro, who was banished, drops those Fields of Love, but here comes Kyrmi, and this Cupid is going down for absolutely free. Ooh, bit of BM there from Kyrmi.
And you know what? I love to see the way they play that because Freya, you know, Wowy has beads, Wowy has ult. And there's a lot of worlds where Wowy just Valkyrie's discretions get the kills. But knowing that Kyrmi's already there, don't waste the ult, keep it for the team fight because they're going for the Gold Fury.
Quig looking for the steal, doesn't find it as the Valhalla Valkyries take down the Gold Fury. So 2 major objectives to their name now. Pyromancer and Gold Fury go the way of the Valhalla Valkyries, really opening this one up. Over 4,000 gold now for this Chaos squad. And if you're the Eldritch Hounds goer, I mean, where are you starting to fight back here? Clearly, we're moving into the mid-game. Oathhh has not been able to find anything going on. This Susano 0-0-1, so part of the 1 kill the Hounds have found, but certainly not as aggressive as you'd like to see from this hyper-carry jungler. Who are you leaning on if you're the Eldritch Hounds to come back in this mid-game?
Well, I still think that Oathhh should be a big player for him. It's just where the focus has been, right? You know, a lot of response from Kyrmi, or responding to Kyrmi, but not a lot of making plays for yourself.
Kyrmi catching Remakami there, immuning the dash. So tanky, though, is this King Arthur. Sovereignty online, Glad Shield online as well. So maybe Kyrmi having to rethink the game plan of targeting this King Arthur. Maybe a bit too tanky as we head into the mid-game here.
And you know what? I'm fine with that, right? Because at this point, King Arthur, you put him down once, he's got the level down, and so you really have an advantage.
Oathhh taking so much damage from that Stinger. Typhoon doesn't finish off BennyQ, and here comes Kyrmi to take out the jungler for the Eldritch Hounds. Remakami caught him between 3, but Quig is going to be the target. Dishwasher, Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, chucks the big beetle under the tower and body blocked by 4. Quig got wrecked. 5-1 Valhalla Valkyries.
And look, I mean, that's just good play, right? Good timing, waiting out from Kyrmi to make sure that Oathhh goes down and doesn't proc Scarab's Blessing. Good timing, BennyQ gets out and still picks up his Stinger. Again, with this low health bar and how much that could have gone wrong for him there, that's impressive. And then just good CC, right? What is Quig gonna do about that? When Gamma picks him up, you're getting thrown back. You're lucky the minions were there, that the tower didn't tank you. And then you get a slow from Benny. You're surrounded by 4. At that point, Quig was the sacrificial lamb for hopefully anybody else to make sure that they could get out of there. But I think that one's just a good response from the Valkyries. A great collapse from the Hounds, but BennyQ plays it well. And with Kyrmi just anywhere around, we'd mentioned that engage. It's going to be a problem dealing with this Rad.
Response here from the Hounds as Remakami and Dudeman Bro try to secure this Pyromancer. Aquarius over the top with the Eagles rally to try to take that one down. Just a little bit off the mark there from Aquarius, who's being aggressed upon from Remakami and Crimson, able to walk away, though, as those ice shards do not connect with the Bellona. So at least a Pyromancer heading the way of the Eldritch Hounds.
I feel a little bad for Kyrmi, though. Again, it's if you're watching him do you see this, but you probably saw he peeked around the corner and just started swinging some autos.
Yeah.
His blink did not go off. That's what happened there. He was trying to blink in, and then he was in combat after that. So just kind of having to stand there staring at them while he awkwardly attacks about 10 feet, way too far away for anything like to actually happen. Maybe I was expecting like a dash, a flurry, something, but now he's got his blink to do something in mid.
Well, there's the flurry you were looking for onto Crimson, who has to beat. Dunking down, waiting for it. There comes the Ratatoskr. Gamma picks up the Merlin. Oathhh returns the kill onto Kyrmi. Gamma able to walk away. Wowy has made the rotation. Whoops 2. Banished, but a heart bomb from the Cupid stuns Wowy in place and dissuades more aggression.
And once again, a moment where Wowy could have popped ult, could have gone for the beads preemptively to make sure that nothing bad happens, but they're not looking for those kills. They just get the TKO. You're out of the fight. They've got a trebuchet in mid. Who cares about killing Dudeman Bro right now? Let's push towers. And I love this. Again, for the Valkyries, this is leveraging the gold lead you already have and turning it into something more, maybe even finding some kills anyway.
Oh, Remakami caught between 4 members of the Valhalla Valkyries. Oathhh has made their way in, but no Typhoon available for the jungler. Eagles rally to catch out King Arthur. Scarab's Blessing applied to Remakami, who's able to walk out safely. This tier 2 tower, though, not quite as safe, getting aggressed upon by the Valhalla Valkyries. Dudeman Bro uses the Field of Love, which does absolutely nothing to this trebuchet nor the Valhalla Valkyries team. Still health remaining here on this tier 2.
And look, Dudeman Bro's lucky to get out alive. There was one shot less of that pulse than Wowy needed, and that's the only true difference that stops that from going down. And they still haven't killed that trebuchet. Finally, it goes out, but the Valkyries got what they wanted when they came out of that. Maybe they didn't get the kills that they could have, but they got the tower, exactly, right? And mid tier 2, Honestly, just mid towers. They're gold-wise, same amount of value that you're going to get from any of the other towers on the map. Pressure-wise, the best objectives you can get outside of like Phoenixes, right? It just takes away a lot of safety. It really makes it awkward. Like your red buff, where you can retreat to. If you're at your red buff and you get caught out, you don't have that safety net anymore. Same thing, speed buff, back camps, anything. So a lot more free will in the jungle for the Valkyries now. And that means that pressure around a Pyromancer, pressure around a Fury, pressure around a Fire, since we're 18.5 in, that's going to be coming up soon. All of that is very important, I think, and the Valkyries have the exact amount of control they need. Ideally, they'll knock down some of these tier 1s on the right and left, but I think they're more than happy with the positioning they're in.
Well, we're approaching 20 minutes here, about a minute and a half away, which means start maybe thinking about the Fire Giant as a blink out from Oathhh forces the Ratatoskr ultimate maybe going back in here, as Kyrmi has plenty of time to think about their decision. They've got Crimson in the backline. Kyrmi says no, just gets out of dodge there. But this Gold Fury, Primal Fury started up and very quickly being put in the ground by the two carries here from the Valhalla Valkyries. Dude Man Bro a little late to the task there. With that Fields of Love, Aquarius being aggressed upon by 3 members of the Eldritch Hounds, but so tanky is this Bellona with so much mobility. Typhoon out here from Oathhh and make that 4 members of the Eldritch Hounds surrounding this Bellona and puts Aquarius in the ground for 45.
That was the inverse of the classic Smite play. They saw people on Gold Fury and they sent 4 to the right instead of the other way around. I'm glad for him though. Hounds get a good kill, you get rid of Remakami. Honestly, Dude Man Bro might have been able to kill off Wowy after that Fields of Love, that Heart Bomb landed. A couple of autos probably would have found the kill, but it's that balancing point. Like, do I want to go into a fight with Benny?
Remakami caught in a banish there and put in the ground by the Freya. Quig with the Scarab's Blessing is going to get popped. Not even the Scarab's Blessing goes off. Perfectly timed once again as BennyQ finds the kill. So 2 down now for the Eldritch Hounds. May open up Fire Giant, may open up this Merlin who has absolutely no escape once that flicker is on cooldown for the next 15 or so seconds. Up, down goes the Rat. One more. Gonna find EruptCrimson. Gamma finishes it off the Merlin, and now Oathhh in a precarious position.
Look, unfortunately for Quig here, that is the 4th Scarab's Blessing we've seen this game. And only one of them successfully stopped a kill. Didn't even proc, it just got the King Arthur out of there. The other 3 that we've seen, every single one was, okay, right as it ends we get the kill. Right as it ends we're able to find it. It happened there, it happened in mid, it happened in mid again. I mean, it's just something that I think is impressive from the Valkyries to have it go, I think, that consistently in your favor. Sometimes it is definitely like patience. Sometimes a little bit of luck in there as well, like as you're just taking a little too long.
It's so perfect. It almost feels like Gamma's going 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, Kyrmi, go now.
Yeah, hit him. Even, you know what? Maybe that is what's happening. Who knows? I think it's just really fun though to see them as successful as they are right now, right? Again, the amount of control they were able to grab from the early game transitioned into a very dominant controlling mid game. To the point where now you're up maybe the most you can be in 21 minutes, right? It is a very, very comfortable lead, and you've got a lot of pressure that you can still get on the map. Towers that can fall. They already kind of did most of the neutral objectives, so really it is just towers, maybe jungle buffs if they respawn soon enough. You'll have a trebuchet to try and fight for, but I expect left-hand pressure through and through. You can see 4 already kind of postured over there. It's going to be tier 1, tier 2. If they can get lucky, they're going to start looking at the Phoenix. Merlin, though, is one of the best defenders that you can have in the game, so at least nicer for the Hounds, right? Like, it's going to be a pause. It's going to be a brief, I guess, respite for the Hounds that they can maybe save this. But you do got to be there. Okay, they backed. I was like, you got to be present if you want to defend it. Luckily, they will have the Merlin. A lot of damage in that.
The Valkyrie's not waiting at all to put this Phoenix under siege. Up in that tree is Kyrmi. Here comes Aquarius. Dishwasher finds Quig, who uses the Scarab's Blessing on himself. Doom Bro picks up Gamma, a 4v5 in favor of the Eldritch Hounds, and the Valkyries are forced off this Phoenix, so a successful defense thus far from the Eldritch Hounds.
And we finally got one. A Scarab's Blessing that gets procced this time. Quig honestly would have died otherwise. I think that Kyrmi, I don't know what the timer was. I didn't see him jump onto that last branch. Probably could have held on to it for a little bit longer just to make sure. Yeah. So there's a little bit of time there that maybe gets your team a kill and gets you out of there. You go support for support. Does it open up the Phoenix all of a sudden? Probably not, but it does at least make sure that that's not a, well, I don't want to say complete deficit for you. It's not like you lost so much because Gamma died, but still, I mean, when Gamma's 3 levels up on Quig, that does feel like a big deal, just making sure that they're able to finally shut someone down from the Valkyries.
So we've hit that 10,000, that sacred 10,000 gold lead here from the Valhalla Valkyries, which means it's more on a throw attempt from the Valkyries than the Eldritch Hounds really fighting back into the Valks at this point. But that Phoenix defense, you got to feel good if you're the Eldritch Hounds, knowing that at the very least, with that Phantom 6th man in the Phoenix, you can take a successful fight against the Valhalla Valkyries. Little bit of a respawn timer here for the Gold Fury Pyromancer Fire Giant, so a reset from the Valhalla Valkyries, allowing Gamma to come back into play. And I know it's to the punishment of the Eldritch Hounds, not exactly what the Hounds were looking for coming into this game, but it's great to see a Valhalla Valkyries team struggling in the SPL, find a couple of wins. They look confident, they look sure of themselves, and I know the Hounds aren't really feeling it, but it's nice to watch the Valkyries get something going.
Yeah, right. That's the one that if you were rooting for the SCC this time around, this is not the game state you want. If you're looking for the Valkyries to find some wins, this is exactly what you want to see. And they're in a good spot, again, to get aggressive, although Kyrmi took a lot of damage.
That great Fields of Love there separates the fight. Dudeman Bro throws that one out. Aquarius taking tons of damage here from Remakami, that King Arthur leading the charge here for the Eldritch Hounds. Gamma low, Aquarius low, Kyrmi low as well. But those pulses from Wowy on this Freya, 4 items deep. They are shredding at this point in the game.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage. I'm curious to see where the next item maybe goes. Demonic Grip was picked up. You've got a Typhon Fang in there, again, for Wowy. Plays well with the passive, things like that. But yeah, no Bancrofts, no big power. Also, notably, and this is something that really kind of came up when we were having the discussion about the Bancrofts specifically. Like, Nimble is nice. Attack speed feels great.
Sure.
But you're then missing out on one specific stat. You get power, you got lifesteal, and this one you got attack speed. You don't have a lot of pin. Sure. So you're going to notice it, like, Wowy is going to hit really hard if it's Oathhh, or Dudeman Bro. But Remakami isn't going to take as much damage. Same thing, Quig isn't going to be as hurt by this. And so I'm curious as to where Wowie's going to maybe throw some of that gold to either make up for that deficit, or if it's just going to be the alternative. I'm going to stack up enough power that maybe we don't need it in totality. And so I'm going to keep my eyes on that build, and specifically where it goes. He just upgraded his Gem of Focus, so it's not like anything crazy is going to happen right now. And it might just be that that's how this game ends, is with nothing really crazy happening on top of that.
Yeah, there's that Gem of Focus. I'm loving this Mantle of Discord from BennyQ. I mean, immobile on the B, right?
Yeah.
Get dove over and over by Oathhh. Pick up a little defense for yourself. You're feeling good. Little silence in there. Great pickup.
And you're not even really sacrificing that much damage for yourself, right? No. I mean, this is very standard for, like, mages in mid lane. Usually, like
the hell.
It's not, uncommon to see him pick up, like, a breastplate, just 3rd item, or a mantle even, 3rd item, just to have it. And like you said, because he's been immobile, he's still got a good damage. I still, like, his Stinger's still going to prot shred you, so it's really just going to open them up, I think, for even more success.
Here comes Gamma with that Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, grabbing the Cupid, a priority target, and over the top, here's that reinitiation from Aquarius. Typhoon rips through the team fight, catching 3 members of the Valhalla Valkyries. Dudeman Bro, the recipient of the Scarab's Blessing, but once again, Kyrmi timing it to perfection, taking out the ADC. Quig follows their lane mate there for the next 40 seconds.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's just a good kill, right? Again, you wait out the Scarab's Blessing. Kyrmi this time did hesitate on the branch, gets the knockup, gets the damage, gets the kill, and then Quig, look, I love Khepri to bits, but he's big, he's slow, he's a bug. He's like, it's very easy to find a Khepri when his kit's down and just kill him. And the Valkyries do exactly that. And then, again, opens up so much for them in terms of map play, not just the FG. They get a Pyromancer. They've got Trebuchet on its way if they want to pick up some of those offerings, things like that. With the Fury already being down and they've already dealt with every tower, this is I like to look at these as like the awkward Fire Giants.
Yeah.
Because like you had mentioned in Game 1, if you get a pick, you're going to get a Phoenix. That's going to be pretty easy for you. Otherwise, you've got a insanely good defense comp. I mean, Cupid can hang back, Heart Bomb, we talked about it, but Dudeman Bro has been threading the needles with a lot of those. Fields of Love, when it comes back up, is going to be really good to just create a no-play zone right at the Phoenix door. Crimson as Merlin, a lot of nice, wide, high-damaging abilities that shreds through people. And then you've got Oathhh maybe to either help keep up with someone like Kyrmi or Remakami, who you can send off to the side. Either way, it's going to be someone that's difficult to kind of burn through and try to create that pressure around a Phoenix. So it's that weird zone where if you are the Valkyries right now, you don't really have this immediate opening. Yeah, you've got 5 with Fire Giant. You've got a lot of buffs. You've been doing great in terms of kills. But you need something like Gamma going in with maybe a Blink ult to pull people out of the Phoenix, or something to really just set you up for a kill early on, because otherwise, this is going to be very difficult to poke into.
That lash from Aquarius is so annoying to just steal away the bubble like that. And just for free. Absolutely obnoxious from the Bellona there. So Quig with no CC immunity for this next engagement. As the Valhalla Valkyries group up as 5, no need to split the fight here between the middle lane and this left-hand lane when you can just 5-stack with your 15,000 gold lead and run it down this left-hand side. The entirety of the Hounds are here to put up a big-time defense. This could be the difference between the Eldritch Hounds sticking around for a game number 3, fighting for their tournament lives, or going down 2-0 once again to the Valhalla Valkyries. Gamma taking plenty of damage to kick things off. Aquarius in the back line playing the zoner. Kyrmi follows right after. 2 members down from the Eldritch Hounds already. Wowy shredding away with that Valkyrie's discretion. The Phoenix still online. Remakami trying to buy some time for the Eldritch Hounds, able to escape. Crimson flickers away as the Mercury BennyQ offline with the Stinger, but Gamma picks up Crimson.
And look, that's going to be a big kill. They open up the Phoenix. They've got 2 people defending, and Dude Man Bro has to get back to the fountain. King Arthur's a little bit of a nuisance. Health bars, only shaky really for Kyrmi right now. I like the call. Go into the Titan room.
Valkyries pressing forward on the Titan of the Hounds. Dude Man Bro and Remakami putting up a miracle defense to keep their tournament dreams alive. Kyrmi is low, but so is the Titan for the Hounds. The Valhalla Valkyries pouring their skills into the Titan and find yet another 2-0 over the Eldritch Hounds.
And look, that one's way cleaner and admittedly faster than the first one, right? You get first blood online a little bit quicker. Admittedly, that goes towards the Hounds. And realistically, of all the things I can list that were maybe positives picked up for the SCC team, that might be where it ends. Unfortunately, from that point forward, objectives, fights, the pressure, picks, anything like that, all of that was on the Valkyries. Some of it, on the back of beautiful plays, whether it's the knockups coming down from the Ratatoskr engage, or if it's coming out of the fact that they just waited out Scarab's Blessing so well, like 3 times in a row.
More than that.
They get a lot of pressure, again, not looking for kills, but looking for objectives on the map. You're looking for towers early on, and they get them. They're looking for pyromancers, and they get them. And while sometimes it might have cost them a life or 2, they never really fell behind, and they felt confident in their play.
A great team win. The Valhalla Valkyries advancing to the next week of SMITE Summer Masters play. Unfortunately, the Eldritch Hounds heading home. Let's take it to the desk to wrap this set up.
Thank you so much. Valhalla Valkyries now the 5th team to move into week number 2 of Masters with their 2-0 here over the Eldritch Hounds. A grudge match between the bottom SPL and the top SCC, and once again, this one goes over to the SPL team. As mentioned there by Gore at the end, first blood goes the way of the Eldritch Hounds. Mifflin looks great. Problem is they were already about 2,000 gold down at that point, so the first blood doesn't mitigate a whole lot. Valkyries have really stepped up that macro play, and it shows even here in just game number 2, and even back in game number 1, where even if they're not getting kills, they're still finding that farm on the map the SCC just can't match.
Second verse, same as the first, man. You could just run back the entire death segment because that's exactly how it goes. Even involving that first blood, not netting them anything. The Valhalla Valkyries just farm up so much better, and the lead came much earlier this time around. Instead of waiting till that 16-minute mark for the game to get started, I believe I looked up at 11 minutes and it was already about a 3,000 gold lead or so for the Valhalla Valkyries. Massive swings in the team fight. Difference being, though, any kill that Kala or the Eldritch Hounds pick up for themselves didn't really amount to much, did it? They don't get too many structures, weren't quite able to work their way towards those greater scorpions. And then when the Valhalla Valkyries got a kill, they took everything on the map. It clean off the bone, no meat left. It was just absolutely clean play from them. And it's that disparity again between the SPL and the SCC, just a completely different pace. These guys don't get too many opportunities to line up against the SPL team, so I'll chalk it up to culture shock.
I think that just comes down to something that we were talking about with the Kings in their post-game interview yesterday, which is where even if you're at the top of the SCC, you're number 1, you're going undefeated, your scrim partners are all the people below you at that point, the people that you're consistently facing off against week in and week out outside of your actual match play are the people at your level and even under at that point. So a lot of these SCC squads not getting that level of talent to really kind of scrim up against and be able to prepare themselves for the big league matchups against teams like the Valkyries, even the Scarabs and whatnot. Kyrmi going 6-1, BennyQ putting up 33,000 damage.
That's
Such
pretty
is the
good.
nature of an Muzen Cobb, gets quite a bit of damage in these games, but even still vastly out-damaging anybody else on his team. I mean, the next closest was 11k down, and that was Wowy on a Freya, who we saw the damage that Freya was able to output once we got to that late game stage.
Yeah, and Benny's damage makes perfect sense when he's allowed the amount of space that he had. I had really thought we'd see Oathhh get early active towards mid or towards the duo lane, but instead that jungle got relegated to just fighting for his own back camps for the most part. So when that space is created, when your front line is doing so much, of course Benny gonna look very good. And he does. He looks real good.
He looks real good, and the Valhalla Valkyries, on the whole, looking a little bit better. And the good news is we got a couple members of the Valkyries, the solo laner Aquarius, and their coach Sharks standing by for our post-game interview.
Yeah, that's right. I got Sharks and Aquarius standing by here. And I guess first I'm just going to ask you, Sharks, how does it feel? You're going into next week. You guys come in. You get to the next bracket. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels pretty good, especially because we know that we're facing either Titans, Leviathans. Pretty comfortable against Leviathans recently, right? And even Phase 1, we won there. Obviously, they trolled a little bit. But Titans, it's kind of, hopefully we get like to verse them for like a revenge match, because week 7 or something, Phase 2, we felt like we could have won that, but we didn't.
Yeah, that was one that was incredibly close. That'll be exciting to watch if it does end up happening. Aqua, I'm going to ask you a little bit about this Game 1, realistically, because Game 2, you guys got ahead early on. But in Game 1, it kind of took a little while to get things online. Was that a little bit of a wake-up period for the team, or was that just the Hounds giving you guys trouble?
I think it was draft a little bit. I think we should have just drafted more pressure, and then it would have went smooth, because I don't know, it was a little iffy, and then the next game we did it, and obviously it went way better, so yeah.
Well, there you go. Sometimes it's going to be the draft. You guys looked really good against the Kings yesterday despite the loss, similar to what you were just saying with the Titans, right? A set that seems like it could be winnable. And I'm actually going to touch on the draft. Sharks, I'm going to ask you this specifically. It feels like the Khepri's been a little troublesome. That last game, you guys handled it really well, but is that something that you guys are like, you just think you can deal with, or has it been maybe more of a pain than you thought it would be?
Yeah, I don't know. We just feel like, I don't want to sound BM, but like it doesn't really matter what they play. But yeah, we feel comfortable versing Khepri, so we just let Khepri do this.
I think we already asked you guys some summer questions, but I'll ask you anyway. If you were at the beach right now, just hanging out, well, Aqua, you're probably going to sleep because you're tired. Sharks, what are you doing out there? You got your feet in the sand? Are you out in the waves? What's your ideal beach day?
Ideal beach day? You got to just do both. Just have fun on the sand, then go. Hopefully it's hot out so you can actually use the water. Drink? No, probably not.
Really?
You can't.
At the beach?
That's a very on-brand answer, though, for Aquarius.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Either way, guys, congratulations on your win. Another 2-0. You're moving to week 2 of the Masters. Congratulations. Thanks for your time. We'll send it back to the desk.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharks and Aquarius, for the post-game interview, and Gore for being our interviewer for that one there. And hearing a little bit about what Sharks was saying, feel a little comfortable going up against the Leviathans if that ends up being their opponent. Even feel kind of comfortable against the Titans and kind of want that revenge, because when you think back to that matchup against the Titans, the Valkyries were about to win that game against the Titans, thinking back in week number 7. The only problem is, once they got the Fire Giant and they had all the momentum, they kind of threw it away in the team fight after and ended up losing the game after that and then the set. So we'll be curious to see where they land out with that one. We can take a look, though, at the schedules, at the brackets, everything that you'll need to know for at least today. Looking at the bracket, the Valhalla Valkyries and the Camelot Kings are your 2 teams from Group A to move on into the second week of play on Masters. And even though we're only at the beginning of the day, I will remind everybody that starts on Friday of this coming week. So it's going to be a little bit of time for these teams to sit down, go over some VODs, kind of review what the other teams were doing at this point, and maybe even just review some of the VODs from their previous matchups, because as it's kind of been shown, we didn't really get any kind of crazy land meta here, Mifflin. This is a lot of what we've been seeing so far, at least in Phase 2.
Yeah, only real differences is, well, Baba Yaga seems to be rearing her head a fair bit. Otherwise, Cullenn's been popping up here and there, but even then, we'd seen that a little bit towards the tail end of the SPL phase. I think you're right to say that, for the most part, when land meta is established, it's because it's a necessity. Maybe the SEC brings some stuff that's hard to deal with for the SPL. So far, doesn't seem like the SEC has been too hard to deal with for the SPL.
Yeah, they've been able to handle them pretty well. Look at the schedule for the rest of the today. Hex Bombo, Solar Scarabs, your next matchup. After that, the Highland Ravens, Oni Warriors, and the Kalen Wardens and Atlantis Leviathans will close out our Sunday of Smite. 20 matches to go for this entire 5-day stretch. 4 games every single day. We're about to hop into our second set of today to get us closer to rounding that one out. And again, another set where one team moves on to the next week of play, the other team eliminated out. So far, it's been 5 of our 8 SPL teams that have made it, and 5 of the 8 SEC teams that have been eliminated. Can the Hex Mambo be the first SEC team to make it through? Can they find a win in their revenge against the Solar Scarabs? All that and more right after this break.